I am calling this meeting to order. Can I have everybody rise for the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting of May 8, 2023 was included in a list of meeting notice. Meetings notice sent to the Hunterdon County Democrat Courier on January 5, 2023, posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall on that date, and has remained continuously posted as required. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the borough. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Here.
Mr. Johnston,
Here.
Mr. Long. Here. Mr. Parker. Here. Ms. Rossetti,
Here.
Ms. Tilly,
Here.
Ms. Carroll.
Here. Right, tonight we're joined by the superintendent of schools, Craig McGann, who's going to give us a presentation on the Flemington Merton School budget.
Thank you very much.
Yes, come right up and join us, please.
I brought Tanya Dawson with me, who is the business administrator. How about we sit here? Would that be okay?
That's
with you?
absolutely perfect.
And
Before you start, can you check the attendees for? Just Malik?
Moving on.
Well, they-
Okay.
Yes, he's a panelist.
Beautiful. Thank you.
and Mike, instead of me saying, can you move on? Can you move on to the next slide? Can we use this USB and I control the slides through this? Would that be okay with you? Or do you want me to?
Whatever works for you.
I think that would be easier because
Well, because I already have the slides open.
I know, but this just controls the clicker.
Oh, okay.
That's all that is, because I know you all are holding me tight to 20 minutes.
We have a very long agenda.
I know.
Okay, you want to give it a try?
You probably just have
This
to
is
get
just a
rid of,
PDF. This is a PDF, so you have to scroll.
it should work.
Can you?
Probably just have to get rid of the webinars being recorded. And reduce
No,
that.
the mouse.
Oh, the mouse. Why is it moving?
Michael, why don't you help her?
Oh, wait, it's over here.
There we go. Got it.
There we
you
go.
And let's see if we can do it. We love technology when it works just right, don't we? And you're gonna start a timer for us, right? Okay, very good. All right, well, Mike, you'll just be my clicker for me. How about that?
That's fine.
Okey doke, we'll go with that. So first off, thank you very much for allowing me some time to spend with the borough tonight. I am the superintendent of schools in Flemington Raritan, Dr. Karen McGann. This is my 6th year as superintendent, and I believe the 2nd time sitting in front of the borough to talk with you about the budget. Everybody in the room knows that the borough doesn't vote on our budget, but I come to you just for information's sake to help members of our Borough Council understand what is encompassed in our Flemington Raritan Regional School District budget. So this is what we're presenting to you tonight. If you could move us to the next slide, please. And if you'll help me move it through here. So just a little bit about us. I am going to go quickly through section 2 and 3. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the highlights and accomplishments. And Mr. Humphrey, I'll be saying, move past that, move past that. So let's go on to the next slide. Everybody in our room tonight in our Borough Council knows about our Flemington Raritan Regional School District and how we are located in the center of the state of New Jersey. We include everybody as part of our budget as well as our team, because we know that our parents are part of our incorporating our budget, and they play a big significant role with our budget and helping us put that in play. So the next slide talks about our mission statement. We are a community of one in Flemington Raritan. We foster our social, emotional, and academic growth, certainly respecting others, strengthening our opportunities to develop and inspire our personal excellence. And we keep our mission statement line that I talk all the time about with every student, every day, every opportunity. So if you look on the next slide at our strategic goals, it gives you what we are focusing on for goals of the budget. And then if you move to the next slide where it says our school district at the top, it shows you how many students we have. This is most recent numbers as of today. I have 3,214 fabulous students enrolled in Flemington Raritan Regional School District in 6 schools. We employ 667 employees, and our demographics have changed over the past 5 years. We have increased our enrollment of multilingual learners, meaning students that speak English as a second language. That percentage has increased 108% since 2018 to 2023. So I became superintendent in 2018. We had about 100 multilingual learners. That has gone up 108%. And I'll show you what that looks like in a couple slides coming up. So if you move to the next one, here's our district by the numbers. Again, the number of students, you can see how much money we spend per pupil. We're slightly above the state median. That we can talk a little bit more about if the borough is interested in that, but it shows you where we are for the expenditure per pupil as well as the state median. There's our school buildings, 6 school buildings. We have almost 687,000 square feet of buildings. Imagine trying to clean that. That's a lot of building space to clean. So we do outsource for our custodian. We have 169 acres of land and 38 square miles encompasses Flemington Raritan. Our class sizes are small. We have a student-teacher ratio of 9.5 to 1, meaning 9, we don't ever do a half of a student, but that's the way that the ratio breaks down, 9.5 students per every teacher. And our statewide average is 10.1 to 1. So that tells you why we spend a little bit more money per pupil. Every one of our students, kindergarten through grade 8, have a computer, and we have a very strong education foundation called the FREP, which is the Flemington Raritan Education Foundation. The next slide gives the borough an understanding of the demographics per school. I'm not going to spend some time on that, but that's there if you want to know how many students in each school, what the percentages are for free and reduced lunch. And the next slide shows you our multilingual learners. And I am going to pause on this one because I saw some of you raise your eyebrows about the 108% that's gone up. The colors on this chart shows you how the numbers have changed. 5-6 years ago, the majority of our students would enroll and they were in the youngest grades, kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Now I have students that are enrolling here in Flemington Raritan in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. So not only has the percentage changed, but the students who are coming to us have also changed with their age range. Did you know that 55.9% of our staff are highly educated and they have a master's degree or higher? Maybe you know we're working on a sustainability award, and we are one of 6 counties, one of 6 STEM ecosystems. Hunterdon, Somerset, Mercer counties, we're part of a STEM consortium. And just over the past 2 weeks, we brought in $108,000 in grants. Let me say that again, $108,000 in just the past 2 weeks. $60,000. The reason I didn't get to see Marcia when she stopped by, and thank you so much, is I was at Francis A. Daymar Elementary School with TV stations, news, radio broadcast, announcing secretly to the teacher who won a $60,000 grant for STEM. 2 days prior before that, we received $48,000 from New Jersey STEM Pathways, and 2 days before that, we received another few $1,000, totaling $108,000, all towards STEM initiatives. So if you didn't know anything about the STEM ecosystem, that's an important thing to know about. So Michael, if you're helping me click through some slides, you'll see some strength. I talk about our strength in STEM. You'll see we won these STEM national awards. We talked about our teachers that won STEM awards with Ralph Lasano and Colleen. We have students that won awards with our robotics teams, Enthusiastic Reader Award, Heroes Award. So Michael, you're just clicking through with me all of these awards for students that we spent a lot of time on last Monday night, bringing parents and students into our public board meeting and recognizing the diligence of these students that live in Flemington Raritan. Artwork, we spotlighted our middle school basketball team who won the championship against Bridgewater, defeating them. Our girls won the semifinals. You see a postcard up here, which is what Michael is showing. We recognized a student for her artwork. We had some student callers that helped us with information about emergency school days, and on and on and on. So Michael, if you're clicking through, it just gives our borough an understanding of all the school accomplishments and student accomplishments until we get to student academics. And there I want to pause, because not only is it important for us to recognize the arts as well as our STEM, but our student academics is also a very important part of our budget. We talk about the assessments that guide our instruction. So Michael, if you'll click to the next slide about how our district used funds with ESSER to support the purchase of something called NWEA MAP assessments. It's an internal assessments different than our standardized assessments, which were happening today. So any of our local members that live close by to the borough heard some announcements from Reading Fleming Intermediate School today started state standardized testing. The NWEA that we spent about $75,000 on from our ESSER funds is in our budget for this next school year. And it's an internal assessment to help us learn more about our students and where they're struggling. Math, science, and language arts is on our next slide. And this is where we see that Flemington-Raritan ranks within the top 50% of all of our 546 school districts. Top 50% isn't good enough. So we know we're working much harder with that to really decide and look at those NWEA MAP assessments about where are kids struggling and what are we doing to focus on helping them reduce the COVID learning loss that we know was so inevitable for our students. We use a lot of technology, which is shown on the next slide, and then you see the hint below, which talks about the additional grant award announcements, which I just announced to you a few minutes ago, but on Monday night, those were a secret and a lot of people didn't know them yet. And then we get to the slide with the budget the budget overview. You see our budget themes on slide 29. We've already talked about those a little bit. I've talked a little bit on slide 30 with our district priorities with our class size. We keep our class size small, which means it does increase the amount that we spend per pupil. What you see on the bottom right side of that slide shows you our district policy on how many students per class. So we have recommendations for a minimum number of students per class as well as a recommended maximum. It doesn't say absolute, it says recommended. So there might be a class that has 19 kindergarten students instead of 18. And the reason is because we might have a student enroll in the middle of the year. And I don't want to hire a teacher in the middle of the year and divide that class up. And then continuity of instruction is interrupted because all of a sudden those kindergarten students have a new teacher in the middle of the year. So we use it as a recommended class size. Our district priorities on slide 31 shows social and emotional health. We hire out to support us with that. We have district-wide events that support our students because we really do have a lot of students that are still struggling with their emotional and mental health, and we spend a significant amount of money on that you'll see on some other slides. Michael, if you'll skip past slide 33 and slide 44 and stop on slide 35. District priorities continues to be finance and facilities with security. And I want to thank the borough for the partnership that you extend to us with our memorandum of understanding to provide our officer here at Reading Fleming Intermediate School. The district has a partnership with you all with that. And we look for that partnership to continue for the upcoming school years because our parents are very focused on student safety in our schools, and our officers help be a deterrent for that. So thank you for that. Slide 36 shows you some of the funding that I talked about with our positions for social and emotional support. I said we spend a significant amount of money on that. You'll see that upper in the right-hand corner, about $300,000 for the outsourced money that we use to support students. That provides them with additional counselors. They'll have counseling sessions in school as well as after school hours. And it's not enough for students that are struggling just to meet with a counselor during school hours. We know that we have to provide their families with support as well. So that provides after hours support for families for counseling sessions to target our students and those that are struggling with mental health. The added security costs are included. Last year, we had in the budget 4 officers, and Raritan Township picked up the cost of 2 additional officers for us. This year, I had to incorporate those 2 additional salaries for our officer at Barley Sheep and our officer at Robert Hunter into the budget. So we had costs increased through that. On the next slide, on slide 37, you'll see costs continue to increase with special education up 3%. Our health benefits increased with staff. We brought our teachers' assistants back into the district, so that increased our costs, but it was a benefit to do that financially, but it does increase our costs a little bit. If you look on the next slide, we talked about our increases to the budget with health benefits. We had a projected increase of 15% for the 23-24 school year, meaning the district pays more for health benefits. We had our PERS pension liability increase based on the Department of Ed guidance. That increased from 15.98% to 17.11%, and our workman's comp increased too. So all of that we had to incorporate into the budget. And then there's transportation costs. So you probably have heard about the school bus driver shortage. Not only are there driver shortages with bus drivers, but there are shortages in education all around. So our routes increased by 30%. Our joint renewal costs, partnering with Hunterdon and Central, that increased by 5.86%. So all of that comes together, and then I have requests from my team here on items that they find valuable for the budget. And these were items that we were not able to fund. It shows you on slide 40 that I could not put a student assistant counselor on slide 40. I could not incorporate that into the budget, even though that was requested by the building principal there because of the struggles with mental health. I could not put another guidance counselor at Barley Sheep, even though that request was in the budget. I could not expand our partnership for mental and social emotional health into other schools. I talked about that $300,000. Those supports, when I was mentioning that they have counseling in school and out of school, those are only in 3 schools. I could not expand that out because of the cost. And last, I could not put academic support teachers at Copper Hill. There was that request as well. So the budget passed, thankfully, with our Board of Education members, but there has been significant cuts, and you see that on the next slide as well. In order to balance the budget, we had to cut over $180,000 to technology. We did not put in place an Apple Music laboratory that needs some renovations at JPK, so we made cuts there, as well as to some additional funding with technology. If you move on past, Michael, thank you so much. You see some big numbers that are going to pop out at you. The amount spent per pupil we talked about on slide 43. The average teacher's salary, we were below the state average until our new contract passed, and now we're in a better spot, which does increase our budget, but it helps me put a teacher in every classroom, because with the teacher shortage, I'm competing with districts all over, and teachers come to the table with the superintendent, and a first-year teacher will ask me, are you willing to negotiate salary? That has never happened before. Unfortunately, I just had a top-notch candidate resign today. So we hired a brand new teacher. She was ready to start, and she gets multiple offers. And then they go back and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to decline your offer. So we are in a better spot. And that shows it on slide 45, where the average teacher's salary has increased and we're slightly above the state average, which helps me barter better for teachers. So then we get into our financial 5-year history for members of our borough. You can see the significant decline in state funding over the past 6 years. Where I came in as superintendent, we lost $112,000 that first year. We lost almost double the second year. We lost $261,000 in 2021. And then in 21-22, we did receive funding. Those were our ESSER funds that you see on slide 48 for $447,000. We did receive funding there, and that saved us from cutting a lot of positions and a lot of programs for students. This year in 2022-23, we were lost funding again, and we do continue to expect that through the course of the next years. You might have read something about sustainability aid from the governor's office. We did receive $106,000 back from that $162,000 that we lost. We don't have it yet, but the governor's office has promised that. So that's a good thing for us. I'm going to let Tanya talk for a few minutes about the last slides, and we're watching the time. So we know we only have about 3.5 minutes, but I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the difference between Raritan Township and the borough, and the tax rate for our tax members here in the borough, as well as Raritan Township.
Thank you. So the next slide we're going to, a lot of these are going to be more dedicated towards the budget and more just what the numbers are, what the district submitted to the Department of Education for approval, and what our Board of Education adopted for the 23-24 school year budget. So this is just an overview of the 22 as a comparison to the 2023-24 school year. These are all the categories that we had within our budget. They're summarized. There's a lot of subcategories within there, but it gives you just a general tuition, health services, speech guidance, curriculum, just different categories that we have within the district to show the categories. And again, this is just for you to kind of take a look at, but it just shows you the categories in which we have our budget allocations in. Next slide. Sources of revenue is important only because for us, our tax levy supports the majority of our budget. So again, we're looking at 80% of the revenue that our district receives is in way of local tax revenue. State aid is about 10%. We get a few additional, federal grants and other aid, but the main source of our budget is our local tax levy. Next slide. This is our budget approval. You can see that we have a budget we're submitting at $75,990,806,000. And again, this just shows you what our taxes to be raised. It's the 57 million is the bottom number there. And then also the debt service and the second to last column there. Next slide. And one more slide. All right, and then again, how does that impact our borough residents? So one of the things, unlike Raritan Township, while we have a tax increase for this year because of the ratables coming into the borough and some of the assessed homes actually going up, we're going to see a slightly decrease in the tax rate for next year. So where this year, the 2022 school year, for an average home assessed at $295,000, that's that bottom number there. The average person was saying per 100 of $33.88. For the 23-24 school year, which would be the 2023 school year now, they're going to be an average home assessed at $314,000. The taxes are looking to be about $3,300, $3,369. So again, that includes our tax levy increase, but again, because of the ratables and some of the assessed values of the home going up, it actually just brought our tax levy down a little bit for the upcoming school year.
So there's a couple slides about what we're doing this summer that I'm watching our time, and we don't really have time to go into that. But if the borough is interested in that, we can talk about projects for the summer. The work continues in Flemington, Raritan, and then that includes our budget presentation for the borough for tonight. Are there any questions that I could answer from the borough members?
I want to say thank you for coming. It's not a requirement under state law that you do this, and we really appreciate you coming and letting us know what's going on over there. It's really nice to have you here.
You're welcome. And we talked about that my very first year as superintendent. This is part of my duty. It's part of my job as superintendent to help members of the borough and Raritan Township. I did the same thing. I went to Raritan Township and presented there. I view all of you as partners in our Flemington Raritan Regional School District community. Whether or not you vote on the budget or not, you need to know so that if people ask you questions, you can say, oh yeah, I'm informed. And then if you have questions, you reach out to me. So I appreciate that, and you're very welcome.
Does any of the council members have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to elaborate too that as being on the fireworks committee, I want to thank you for your partnership that we have, continued partnership and allowing us to have the fireworks.
You're welcome. We had a little bit of a hiatus during COVID, and then when we were working on the referendum, we had a lot of trucks and things, but I know we were back last year, and I'm sure we'll be back again this year. Hi, Susan.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank you again for coming. One of the things, I think I had sent you an email a couple months ago. Melissa and I are actually the school liaisons.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to number one, thank you for coming. I think I don't even know if I had mentioned this in the email, but I had asked your architect of record that whenever you're updating the long-range facility plans, I, as a school construction architect, I would always ask the council and or planning board to, just kind of give an update. I think planning board, especially because I'm also liaison on that, it's very helpful when they have an understanding of impact on demographics. And so whenever you guys do any updates, I'd appreciate a very even shorter presentation than you're doing now. I know that you're implementing all the projects related to the referendum a few years ago, and I know that's very busy. I know you had to kind of brush through quickly the summer schedule. Is there anything in particular at Rifus, since that's the borough,
Yes.
that we should be aware of for construction this summer?
Thank you for that question. So first, let me talk a little bit about the long-range facilities plan. So during the presentation, I spoke about the $106,000 sustainability aid that Governor Murphy awarded Flemington Raritan. We are using part of that $106,000 for one-time purchases. We shouldn't incorporate that into the budget because it has to be sustainable moving forward. So what we've decided to do with part of that funding is to purchase a long-range facilities renewed plan. The one that we have in place now is pre-Dr. McGann, so we do need a new plan, and that's going to cost us about $40,000. So as soon as that's completed, the board did approve that. We'll certainly reach out to you, Susan, and we'll involve and come
that'll
back and
include
share that.
An updated demographics
Yes, it does.
cohort?
Yes, it does. So
Um,
items that
I'm
are
sorry.
important to Flemington Raritan, specifically with our intermediate school, we're at the final stages of our referendum right now. We're in punch list items. You've seen the updates outside to the egress. You've seen the new color on Flemington Raritan Intermediate School. We have just primarily punch list items. So what I mean by that are small projects that need to be done. Some painting that's here, some outside numbers. We have a couple of HVAC units that aren't working like we want them to work. So we're working on that, and some of that will happen this summer.
Nothing that will affect the borough
No.
largely, though. I appreciate that feedback.
No,
Two other short items. Number one is, this is a personal thing. I will be a graduating 8th grade mom in a few weeks. So I appreciate 15 years. Oh, it's a dolphin, always a dolphin of all of the district's support and work. You guys really do a fantastic job. So thank you for that. And I want to just very quickly plug that the Flemington Raritan School District has their spring concert tomorrow night at
They do.
KPK's.
yes, 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
That's right. Tonight I'm here,
Conflicts with
tomorrow
our-
night I'll be there.
conflicts with our planning board meeting tomorrow, so I'm not gonna say where you should go tomorrow, but.
I'm pretty much
Thank you.
out, probably out of the 20 school days, give or take. I'm probably out at least half of those. So tonight I'm here, tomorrow night I'll be at the concert, Wednesday night I'm at the Talk Latte, which is a community event. So you're right, it is tomorrow night and we
Yeah.
can't wait to have that.
Well, I'm excited about graduating I'm sad about graduating out of the district, but I really thank you for everything you've done.
You're
for all
welcome.
those
And
years.
I love it. I love my job. I'm pretty much local now. I live somewhat close by compared to where I was when I first started. So it's a beautiful community here. Tony?
So yeah, I have a question real quick. So I just want to go back to something that you said. Did you say that all the students have computers? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, not all, because I have over 100 preschool students and we didn't even talk about that growth. But so
from
my
1
preschool do
to
not,
12, they all have
kindergarten,
computers?
kindergarten through grade 8, they all have a computer. So
For grade 8.
three, yes, so 3,114, give or take, students all have a computer. So the 100 preschool students do not, but they did during COVID. We gave them all an iPad.
So are they working with computers in school?
Yes.
And out of school as well?
Yes.
So how does that work if they don't have an internet connection where they live and because of
Great.
their social economic?
Great
status,
question.
whatever?
So the great digital divide we learned happened during COVID-19. I, as superintendent, partnered with many of our digital communications companies. I was having phone calls with Verizon and Comcast and lots of others. And we purchased jetpacks for students at a significant decrease of rate through our partnership with Verizon and Comcast. And we provide those to our families who do not have internet access.
Fantastic.
And
Mhm.
in
What I-
addition to that, they are programs that actually allow for families who are in need to actually get services for free as well. So we also distribute a lot of information to those services as well. to our community.
How do you communicate that to parents?
Another great
Especially
question.
parents of different cultures, because
Yep.
that's what my concern would be, is how are we talking to them about that?
So one thing that is significant for Flemington Raritan, it's not enough to distribute information written in their native language, because what we've learned is that many of our families, not only do they not speak English, but they don't read Spanish. So they can speak Spanish, but it's not enough for me to send something home written in Spanish. So we did a lot of videos. We have hired significant number of Spanish-speaking bilingual counselors, secretaries, administrators, and we do a lot of videos out, messages to parents. Our bilingual counselors are my direct link to those families, really supporting them to make sure they have what they need. And if they have questions, that's their direct contact. They exchange text messages, contacting them back and forth.
I'd really like to partner with you on this, because I think the council is as well, and I'm doing an outreach for the council and the mayor.
Mhm.
And so that would be a really important factor to have there, so I need to get you guys.
Happy to do
contact
that.
information.
Business card is here, as well as the card.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
I'll keep it real quick. Just want to talk as a parent.
Yeah.
2 kids, one went through FRSD and now at Hunterdon Central, and I just want to thank you. I think my children specifically had very unique needs, and my wife and I couldn't be happier with both of their experiences. And I also met the high school, and occasionally an ELL kid who had some foundations in FRSD, I'll meet them, I'll have them. And they're just very lucky that they have those foundations here at FRSD.
Thank you for that, Mr. Long. You know, as a mother of 4, I know how important our children are to us. They are our greatest gift. And it's my role as superintendent to make sure that all those 3,214 students are getting the same, if not better, opportunities as I would give my own children. And that's important to me. Any other questions from members of the borough?
We appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Our attorney went to the Bridgewater School District. He was not happy that we won.
That was 20 years ago, but we got greened by Central 20 years ago. And it's still happening, so.
Sorry to hear that. But
It's all good.
They always one up us, so I'm not surprised.
And we've recruited some teachers from Bridgewater too, so I got them newly coming on over, so.
Fine system.
It is.
I admit it.
I am proud. I did K through 8 in that building, K through 8, so.
It is a beautiful building. Anytime I have a guest that comes over to visit for the first time, we take a walk around the grounds of Reading Fleming Intermediate School and look at the historical significance of the building. And most recently, I have an assistant superintendent who's great, Mr. Dan Bland, and he found online old historical postcards of the building from 50 and 60 years ago that he brought in, and we've been looking at just the historical change of the building. So that was very important to us during the referendum process. We partnered a lot with the Historical Society to maintain the integrity and the historical significance of the building. It's a beautiful building. Thank you again for your
56
time.
years ago doesn't sound like that long, but thank you so much for
You're
coming. We
welcome.
really appreciate it.
You're
Good
so
luck with
welcome.
everything, and-
Michael, thank you for being the slide mover for me as I tried to do technology to take that away from me. I appreciate that very much.
Okay. Need a second to get your stuff.
I'm gonna leave some of these.
Thank
cards
you.
here,
Thank you.
And not all this is.
We need all this stuff. It's going to be good. Have a great night.
Thank you again.
All right, next on the agenda is my report. I do have a couple of things that I just want to say. Number one, I did send out some changes to the minutes and corrections late this afternoon, so regarding spelling of some of our constituents' names in the minutes, as well as one change to the executive session minutes, where since they're going to be approved tonight, regarding our construction official leaving, it's just really making a change of the word retiring this minutes make it sound like we're terminating him, so he's retiring, so I just, it's,
I am absolutely certain he will appreciate it.
yes, well, in posterity will appreciate it too and not wonder why we were terminating it, that doesn't play after 20-something years. So that's one thing. Number two is, under the regular agenda, I'm sorry, the consent agenda, the, first number 2023-105, approving signing of an open letter supporting the restoration of energy tax receipts. I just want to give all the council members a little tiny quick history on this. Up until the Whitman administration, every utility paid municipalities basically a rental for having transformers and wires and, you know, lines and everything else in towns. And so we all used to get checks. And under the Whitman administration, those utilities basically went to the state and said, we just can't be writing 565 checks out every single year. So we'd really like the state to collect them for us and then distribute it. And that's how it worked for a little while. And within a few years, the state stopped returning 100%. And it gradually became less and less and less money to the point now where we get nothing. So that that grocery franchise tax, we don't get anything for having all the wires running through town and all of our transformers in town. So the League of Municipalities is now taking an assault on the state legislature and the governor to try to get this money back. They've already have over 50% of the mayors signed on to this. I just wanted to get a resolution on record. They did not ask for a resolution on record. I think it, for me, it's important that you also, you know, say it's okay for me to sign this online letter, so that we can get this money back, which that was always the deal. And so that changed. I can't remember if it's really significantly changed under Corzine or Chris Christie, but at this point, like I said, we get nothing. So so that's on there. And then finally, there's we're under kind of a ultimatum from the state of New Jersey regarding the grant from the not the grant, I'm sorry, the loan from the iBank that the council authorized in 2020 or 2021 for $1.5 million plus 200,000 from the DOT to do the funding mechanism for that. So it's a total of 1.7. They want a bond ordinance in place by the, it started, it has to be introduced by the next meeting. So right now we have bonding capacity left of $4 million. That's it. We have a $2 million earmark sitting in Congress that we won't know until September or October if we get it. And this 1.7 will wipe out our entire debt serviceability in this town because we're already at 2.6%. So this is not a threat. This is me just telling you that we are in a place right now, if we have a water main blow or a sewer line blow or anything like that, we are in an extremely precarious position, and our CFO is standing right here. And you can please feel free to disagree with me at any moment, Bill, but we are in an extremely precarious position on our debt ceiling from the last few years of a lot of encumbrance of funding. So my inclination is to actually, as upsetting as it sounds, and it's going to be very, we're going to have Academy Street residents very angry, the 4 or 5 houses on there. My inclination is to turn this money down because we just don't have the capacity. You just heard the superintendent, they made some really hard decisions, especially about mental health support for children. I mean, that's an incredibly hard decision to make. But you know, if the budget passes tonight and we get some of this debt starting to get under control, it makes this a little bit more palatable. But if it doesn't, I will not be putting this on the agenda in 2 weeks and letting it lapse. And the council will have to override and do an amendment to the agenda in the beginning of the meeting and authorize our attorney to, or actually our bond counsel to write a bond ordinance for introduction. So I'm just letting you know where we are right now regarding this budget. It has become very political. It is very disturbing. You know, it could have been political about how much debt we were going into over the last few years, but now rubber is hitting literally the road because we've got to do an encumbering ordinance for $1.5 million to $1.7 million at the next meeting. We are at 2.56%. Our full capacity, we're about 12 million right now. Our full capacity is about 16 million. It gives us 4 million. That includes emergencies. So we got 2 million sitting in Congress right now waiting for an approval, 250,000 at the state waiting for an approval, and this 1.7 million. So it wipes us out completely, and that 1.7 million also wipes out, I shouldn't say that because we're getting the DOT to write down the down payment. I believe the DOT is covering in their money, but because we only have 93,000 in the capital fund. So do you want to say anything on that, Bill? Because that's
That covers it all.
okay. So that's my mayor's report. I'm going to turn over to the council now. Council President, do you have any comments?
I don't have a report this evening, but I do want to let everyone know that when we come to the budget resolution, I am going to motion that we amend that ordinance. I think ultimately with conversations with this council, as council president, what I want is consensus. And I think when you have a budget where the temperature is that we don't have a consensus, I want to sort this out. So tonight, I don't want to leave here until we are set with a number for that tax rate, because that has been the #1 issue for a lot of us. And when you talk to your neighbors, if you've gotten an earful, you know what the situation is. It's a number. I agree with the mayor. There is an urgency and we need to take care of this. So as a council, I would hope that this evening we can have a discussion where we try to reach consensus. And you know, and I know, reaching consensus is not easy sometimes in Flemington Borough. I would like to change that tone, and we can talk about that budget and make sure that that happens. So that's what I intend to do as your president. And I hope that we can have a civil discussion. I hope that nobody's on the defense. We just get the facts laid bare. And ultimately, what is everybody okay with? If you're gonna walk away from this ordinance voting yes, okay, and you're okay with, you're just okay with it, I think that's a success. But honestly, I don't want this political. I don't think it needs to be. But what we need to do is we need to sort this out tonight, and that's my intention, if you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President, Billy?
All right, so this past Saturday and Sunday, I attended the FEMA CERT training down at the Burlington County Training Facility. CERT is always, well, CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. We're always looking for volunteers to join. So if you're interested, please contact me. Tomorrow's DPW meeting, as well as my Wednesday is fire officers meeting and HPC house tour meeting. The HPC house tour is scheduled, rain or shine, Saturday, June 3rd. We're still looking for volunteers. If you're interested in helping on June 3rd, please join the house tour committee meeting this Wednesday, the 10th at 7 p.m. It'll be held at 41 Pennsylvania Ave. If you're interested in purchasing tickets for the tour, please see the borough website, the HPC Facebook page, or any of the posters have the QR code. And please note that the tickets are being managed through Eventbrite.
Thank you. Ms. Rossetti? One second.
There's been a question about if people don't have access to the internet, how can they buy tickets?
I'll have to bring that back to the ticket people.
Okay.
They can show up the day of with cash.
Okay.
Because we're selling tickets the day of. At Chamber of Commerce is where the registration sign-in is going to be. 11 o'clock. That Saturday morning.
And there's no like extra cost if you don't prepay, sort of cost if you buy early?
No, there's,
It's the same price, right?
well, it's $25 if you prepay and $30 day of.
So maybe they should have a way to prepay, maybe here or something.
There's just been a few calls of residents who don't have access to the internet.
They can contact, I believe Dennis Showed. You can give them Dennis's email
Okay, great, thank you.
and he can figure something out.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Rossetti, I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything specific to report. I would like to say thank you to Councilman Long. I do look forward to discussing the budget tonight. Thank you.
Councilman Johnston?
All right, thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report this week.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Parker?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna just hold off for this week, because I think I just want to get to the budget.
Ms. Engelhardt?
I had a I mentioned earlier that there's a planning board meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock. The continuation of the Spice Factory application is on the agenda among other things tomorrow, but that's the main gist of it. And I know we had kind of held off on some other comments in the last few weeks, so I really wanted to make sure I recognized these couple grants that were awarded the last couple weeks. The Elizabethtown Gas offers a $1,000 grant for local children's recreation, and I want to thank the mayor for bringing that to my attention. I reached out to 3 local organizations, and the FRB won that grant. So that was, I was happy to help liaison with that. I had applied for a Board of Utilities grant last October on behalf of the planning board through the Board of Utilities, State Board of Utilities. It's a tourism grant. And we found out just a couple of days ago that we didn't need that. That's $5,000, and there's a continuing application, like a second round coming up in a few weeks. So I'm hoping to continue that to kind of build up that that project for EV units. And then in addition, I had brought that same grant to the Union Hotel owners' attention because it actually applied to them even more than it did the borough. And they also received a grant under that same program. I have no idea how much it was, but they were eligible for quite a bit more than we were, just because how the grant was written. So I'm happy to report that they also received that grant with our support. And finally, the Parks and Recreation report. There was a really successful event in the park last over the weekend with the community garden. I think there's 3 spots left. If anybody wants to claim them, they can contact the community garden people, but they actually had so many volunteers on Saturday, they didn't even need to hold the event again on Sunday. So thank you for everybody that came out. And that is all of that.
Thank you. Administrator, you have a report?
I'll be quick, Mayor. Liquor licenses, we've got 4 of the 5 in, there's a social that's still out, so I anticipate a resolution of approval for those at the next meeting on the 22nd. Court is merging on June 1st. Today was the last court day. So we'll be starting the process of breaking down, and they already have a checklist on migrating the court over. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Okay. A bulk crash is May 19th. So the common buy tickets, you buy 4 tickets for $40. Ms. Connor was there with me today. We had there was a discussion with affordable housing consulting firm. There are a lot of affordable housing programs that are available to the borough. I suggest we don't have a liaison for affordable housing, so I might suggest a discussion about possibility of liaison from the council to look further into this. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. I guess we should introduce Ms. Connor, who's on our agenda tonight to approve as our new clerk, starting later this month or late in early June, sorry. So welcome. I'm glad to have you here tonight. All right, so we're gonna go into public comment session number 1. I am holding people's comments to 3 minutes tonight because we do have this. It looks like it's going to be a lengthy discussion on the budget. So if you have any comments for the council, please come forward. State your name and your municipality. Like, whose line is it? What's that game show?
I can hear it up.
No, I'm sure.
Bill Rance. I've dropped off the petition for all the homeowners on North Place, except for one, because his street actually, or sorry, his address exits on Corcoran Street. They all in agreement with keeping it street or place as it was originally, and I'm hoping the council will agree with this, change it back.
So
to
you
what it
did,
was.
so Mr. Renz, you went to all the neighbors?
Yes,
and they-
Mr. I received it. As
Okay,
I
great.
have copies here if you need it. Every homeowner agrees, and it's affecting like 14 to 15 vehicles, and then people that come and deliver stuff. The garbage people, it's destroying the road. I have a trailer that if I take the trailer out towards Cochrane, I don't hit anything. If I go down the hill, the bottom's out on the road. I showed you the pictures last time I was here of how it's digging in. The track, not the recycling trucks and the garbage trucks are basically tearing it out, and anybody else that comes out because they come up that street. It's a bad spot. Nobody's at fault for that. If the road department does everything they can to take care of that area. It's just that we all agree that there was no reason. This street has been like this for ages. And it's a two-way street.
So just so you know, I do think I informed the entire council. I know I informed the council president, but I've done a lot of research on this since you were here last. I got a hold of the original traffic study. I had our new traffic engineer. He wasn't the traffic engineer that did the study. The study was apparently done by CME engineering firm, and never reviewed by our traffic engineer. So he saw it and read it, and North Place was never studied as part of that traffic.
No, there was
study.
somebody there, just,
There was somebody doing counts, but they were actually doing the counts for Corcoran,
okay.
and they really never did they never really did the study on North Place, and basically the study just said, if you want to make it one way, you can make it one way. I now have it in writing from our chief of police that there's never been an accident on your road, and he sees no problem having it go back to being two-way. I have it in writing from our DPW superintendent that the garbage trucks and recycling trucks are an issue, and he doesn't have a problem with going back two ways. And I also have it in writing from our traffic engineer that he has no problem with it going back two ways. So if it's okay with the council, we'll introduce an ordinance in 2 weeks to turn it back to being two ways.
I would appreciate that very much from all of you. Please understand the first issue I brought up and just fully agree with one part of it is the buses and the children. That's my first concern more than anything else. So I really appreciate the time. I didn't realize it would take 4.5 months. I know you all have a lot on your plate. So I'll let you go.
So anybody have a problem with this?
Any other questions?
No, I
for me?
just wanted to thank you because not many people would take the time to follow up, and you did that, and I really appreciate you being involved, and that's what, you know.
I think I gotta thank you
Public
more for being
input.
patient with me
No,
because
Thank
doing
you.
the best we can. Thank you and have a nice night.
thank you.
Everybody, you too. Ms. Rossetti, okay with doing, okay, so we'll introduce an ordinance to repeal the ordinance that made it one way, or an ordinance making it two ways. It doesn't really, I think a repeal. I think a
Reset on the concept.
to introduce it, yeah, I think that'll.
Do I have to be here then?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an introduction.
No, the public hearing maybe, but not the, yeah,
You can take your bow on the June,
right, whatever that is.
June 10th, whatever that is.
Anybody else from the public have any comments? You're limited to 3 minutes.
I'll do it in 1 minute.
Okay,
Okay, so Robin Lapidus, the Flemington Community Partnership. I'm just here to say thank you for the awesome communication about the construction. I know it feels like a lot. And I get scared every time my Comfrey crosses my screen and it's actually a construction message, but it's been great. And while the construction itself is certainly painful, the process of communication has been really greatly improved. And thank you for that.
we're changing our logo to a flag.
That'll be good. We'll need it for at least a little while. So we had, since we last spoke, we've had sidewalk sales, we've had some free Mother's Day activities in our tent on Stangel Road. The sidewalk sales were on Main Street. We've had fabulous Cinco de Mayo events. We did it for a week and invited the public to send us photos of themselves, their food, more pictures of food than I ever really want to look at, but the food looked delicious and made me hungry. And we have a number of winners, and then they get to pick which favorite place they want to go back to with a $50 gift card. So it's a contest that just goes full circle. We are
In the future,
Sure.
what I would rather you do is when I come on and I'll give you the show, because I want to roll something into that. So we should talk first before you present things like that to the council,
Okay,
just in the future.
Sure.
Go ahead and do it.
you tell me at what point you want to talk about it and we will.
Just,
We did help the United Way write a grant for the summer, for a summer siesta event to Hunterdon Cultural and Heritage, and we hope that grant is successful. And that will give us another opportunity to get together, and this also on Folker Road. The corn tomato beer applications are out. We already have about 70 applicants out of like 120, so within a week and a half, we really collected a lot of applications, and I think that's a very positive sign. We learned in our grant meeting over at the chamber with the NJEDA about some buildings in town that have been purchased and are going to close soon, but it's all really good news of tenants being able to purchase their buildings, which is a trend in Flemington that we're very lucky occurs. And we're excited to tell you more about that. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
There's no one online.
Hi, Maureen Keelan from the Borough. Mayor, I wanted to discuss if the council and everybody is asking Malik to resign. I'm really disturbed by the pending cases that he has. He's still sitting on and voting. That's so disturbing that he has a say. And I can see it's partly now, I understand, to pass the budget he's needed. That's disturbing to me. It's very morally upsetting that he's sitting here and just voting on all these really important topics. I have children in these schools and teachers in this school. And Malik came to my house. I came here a couple of weeks ago and I told you what he did. He asked my daughter if she wanted to buy crystal. And he came to my house after I asked him, right here, to look me in the eye. And he wouldn't even do that. So a friend of mine said to me the other day, I bet he'll come back. And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I didn't. And I didn't think that way. And I'm here to say, please don't do that. Don't come to my front door. You scared my daughter. You made me a little nervous. And you're smoking vape. When I look up online here before it says no smoking, you can't follow basic rules. And Malik, last thing I want to say to you is they're going to bury you under the jail. I don't know how for weeks you didn't figure this out. I don't know how you think a public defender is going to defend you selling drugs in his county. You're going to be buried under the jail. You should resign and save yourself. So please, if you could talk to him. I don't want to go to the police station and file a complaint. I'm just done. I don't want to be harassed and I don't want to, I actually, my daughter took a picture of him looking in my window. I literally wanted to blow it up like poster size, but I don't want to act like a crazy woman, but it literally is a scary photo. And I shouldn't have to live like that. Every day when I walk out my door, I look to see if your red car is there. Don't do it. I live here for 50 years and I've never seen a prosecutor defend somebody selling meth and drugs in their town. I don't know what you're thinking. You should resign. What are you doing? When you go in front of the judge, she's going to hold that against you. And I just want to say, please talk to him. I don't want him coming to my house again, okay? He's under your, if he came in every week, that would be the first thing as a mayor out of my mouth, resign. Every week, that would be the very first thing I said. So stay away from me and I'll look at it. I'm not going to tell you again. Next time I'll press charges.
Thank you. All right, next, anybody else from the public have any comments? Nobody online?
No.
Okay. We have approval of minutes.
You want to pass them in mass or each one?
Each one individually. We have the March 13th minutes, regular session. Can I have a motion to approve with my couple of typo changes?
Long move.
For a second,
Tilly, a second.
roll call, please.
Okay, Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Thank you. We have the March 27th regular session.
Do you want to do the special session, March 13th?
I thought it's 20, I thought it's-
No.
yeah. Yes, the executive session for March 13th.
No, it's a special, so he's got the executive session.
The budget.
This is a special session, we had 2 special budget.
I don't remember seeing those minutes. When did you send those?
There were 2.
I saw March 13th, March 27th, and the executive session for the 27th.
There's a second email that went out with the special session.
I missed those, but that's okay. I don't get to vote anyway. Did everybody else see them? Go ahead. Okay, so it's the March 13th special.
March 13th special.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
Long move.
Chili, second.
Any discussion or changes? Roll call?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Oh, no, that's.
When was the other special?
Now we have the special for the 27th.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the special session on the budget? For March 27th.
Long move.
Is there a second?
Chili, second.
Roll call?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
And then we have the special session
So
executive.
we have a
I'm sorry,
regular, now it's a regular for the 22nd.
I thought we did that one, right? The
We
regular-
just did that.
Okay, so we have the regular session for
regular
the
executive.
27th, that with my changes for typos on people's names. Can I have a motion
Well,
to,
we're doing regular, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can I have a motion to approve the 27th minutes?
Long move.
Is there a second?
Chili, second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
And then there's the 27th executive session for March, with my one change regarding current versus retiring. Can I have a motion to approve?
Chili,
Is there
Long second.
any other discussion on the executive session? Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda, resolution 2023-105, which is what I discussed earlier, which is the Rush Receipts franchise tax, getting it back into our hands, the hands of the municipal governments for being leaseholders and never getting any rent for utilities. This approves the signature of an open letter supporting the restoration of energy tax receipt funding to municipalities. And number 2, resolution 2023-106, authorizing the municipal budget for the year of 2023 to be read by title. Can I have a motion?
Chili, move.
Long second.
Any? Oh, I guess not. It's a good set. Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
yes,
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay. On to the regular agenda, we have a public hearing, resolution 2023-95.
So I would like to motion to amend the resolution, and Mr. Corsini, you're gonna have to help me out here for formula here. I would like to have a discussion about the tax rate. Is that what I should just say? Is my
So
question.
So you're supposed to have the public hearing on the budget. As it is presented, you have to have a public hearing on that budget. And then at that time, if we vote. You don't have the votes to adopt it, then you vote to amend. That's where you would have your discussion.
Okay,
That's my understanding of it.
okay, so there has to be a vote first. Before I can amend it.
Well, I guess it has to. You can have a discussion, I guess, when after your public hearing.
Got it.
So you could amend the agenda to move that where you want, but once you're like kind of in the channel, those right. So I wasn't sure that that's, you wanted to move it inside.
So we're gonna have the public hearing,
Have the public hearing.
We're gonna close it.
Discussion.
then we'll have a vote to introduce, or to adopt, and then a discussion.
So
At
you
which
move it
point
up
you
and
can
down
say
your
out
agenda.
or it can pass.
You can move it up and down your agenda, but once you're in like the budget channel,
Mhm.
you have to stay in the channel. I wasn't sure that's what you meant, so I.
That's what I'm asking, yeah.
I know the
So-
budget's different.
So if you want to like move it up and down, like in terms of where it's presently on the agenda? Or
So
adding
wait till
it
the
or
end of the
subtract
agenda,
or
or do you wanna
subtracting
do it
it,
now?
you could do that.
I want to take care of it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
But
let's
I don't
do
think
the
you wanna-
process.
Yeah,
Let
but
me
to
get the
actually,
process. I know where you want to go. Let me
Yeah,
get, let me
understood.
do the process.
Thank you.
All right. Can I have a motion to open up the public, let's see. Resolution 2023-95, adopting the 23 municipal budget of the Borough of Flemington. Can I have a motion to open up the public hearing?
Tilly will move.
Long second.
Okay, anybody from the public wishing to speak on resolution 2023-95?
You develop.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Does he actually have to read the title? He has to read the title, doesn't he? The really long title?
The title of the budget,
Yeah. And now, right?
I believe so,
Yes, you need to read the entire long title of the budget. Doesn't he, Carla? You're
No,
I've never done that.
really?
Yeah.
I've always had that.
I just said public hearing of the
Really?
2023
You've never done
budget.
that? You've never read the long? I've always had the long title read.
No.
Okay. All right, well, the public hearing is now open. If you wish to speak on the budget, please come forward, state your name and your municipality. And make your comments.
Good evening, Caitlin Giles McCormick, Flemington Borough Council, or Flemington Borough, sorry, guys. I do want to urge you all to vote against the current budget proposal and propose a replacement budget at the next council meeting, at the next opportunity. The 3.75% tax increase is unnecessary and will financially hurt the residents of town. This is not a partisan issue or overly political issue. It is about the health, safety, and security of our community members and the ability for them to provide the basic essentials for themselves and their families. Financial impact of your decisions on taxpayers are at the core of your responsibilities as elected officials. And while we undoubtedly have financial challenges as a borough, including the amount of debt, we have significant assets as well that a lot of municipalities in the state do not have. We have a 10% surplus and numerous redevelopment plans in progress that will increase the income, directly to the borough and also increase the number of taxpayers in this town, spreading the costs across more ratables, across more households. I recognize how challenging this work is. However, this increase has a disproportionate impact on different residences in the town. And just because certain residences and households and property owners can handle the increase, it doesn't mean that all of them can. 37% of households in the borough have a total household income, not individually, but the total household income of less than $50,000 a year, 37%. An additional 25% of households have for a total of 62% of households make under $100,000 a year. It's my understanding that a 1.75 tax increase would allow for the continuation of the current level of services while also meeting all of our loan commitments. And it's certainly my recommendation to have something much closer to that as the amount of increase for the budget and for the tax increase for residents here. Mayor, you talked about a 16 million that is available to bond and that we currently have 12 million committed. And then we're talking about 1.7 additionally, potentially with Academy Street. I realize that takes us closer to 16 million, but 12 and plus 1.7 is 13.7 million. And that still does give us a tight, I mean, it's tight. I recognize that it's tight. But that still has 2.3 million available to bond. Is that right? I mean, am I missing something? I'm honestly asking.
Your numbers are right.
Okay, yeah, so it's not taking us all the way to the top. And the other piece that I would stress and request is what does this additional 2% that is going to debt service, what does that get us now in terms of our ability to bond? So versus doing, a flat 2% now of increase. So you take that 0.25
and you put that towards debt service now, and then what is 2% next year get us? What is that delay of a year for that additional debt service? What does it get us now? And with the fact that we still have, even if we do this academy project, we still do have 2.3 million available to fund. I don't want us to max out. I don't want to say, debt, like, I understand I understand the concern. It's something to talk about for sure, but it has a disproportionate impact on people in this community that is the poorest in Hunterdon County. And the households that are here and the people who go and patronize Main Street and keep our businesses alive and are part of our community. So it's a very, very serious thing. And I don't understand the need for it. And I appreciate any additional conversation that you all will have around it. And if you, and I'd love if Bill could talk about that amount in terms of bonding. If we do a full 2%, like in hard numbers, what does that get us? If we do the 3.75 increase and 2% of that's going straight to debt service, what does that get us in terms of our ability to bond? Now, tomorrow, if that goes into effect.
So you don't have to answer anything until we get into the discussion.
Okay.
It's a comment period.
Okay, all right, well, I think that to me is a really important piece of number. And the fact that we still have that 2.3 available to bonds now. Even if we do academy, I understand that how tight it is. I'm not saying don't address it. I believe, Mayor, you had talked about doing a committee to take a long-term look at the debt and create a long-term debt plan. I think that sounds great. That means having a long-term plan and digging down and having things, going over multiple years versus now this giant tax increase, compounding with what we heard today from schools and the other tax increases that we're looking at, that our residents are looking at. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public have any comments about the budget?
Check online.
Yeah, I have a. Let me have. What's it, Swingle? Can you hear us?
You're on mute, Melissa.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes, hear you.
All right. Melissa Swingle, 55 Broad Street. First of all, I want to thank all of you for working on the budget because I've been through this many times and I know it's a process. And I agree that the rate is going to hurt, but I also think we reap what we sowed. We were lax. We had a drunken spending spree and we have to pay our debt. If it was personal debt, I would want to get out of debt as quick as possible, no matter how much I had to scrimp and save and sacrifice. I also, and I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Crap. I also think that I have no idea. I totally lost my train of thought. I am so sorry.
Okay. But you last said was it, this was personal debt, I would
Right.
want to understand.
Yeah, if it was personal debt, I would try everything to get out of debt as quick as possible, because obviously in this day and age, being in debt is not a good thing. And I also agree, I don't feel comfortable not having a very large ceiling to bond with. I mean, God forbid there's an emergency and we don't have the ability to do something about it. Oh, I know what my other final thought was. And I know the previous commenter spoke about, have projects in the borough that's ongoing that will bring the people in. But let's be real, we've heard that before. And I don't feel comfortable risking our borough's credit and approval ratings on hopes and dreams. It's gonna be painful. I appreciate the work everyone's done, but I think the budget just needs to be done and over so we can all move forward and just keep on trucking and get through this.
And it,
That's it.
thank you very much, Ms. Swingle. Anybody else from the public have any comments?
Yes, Eugene Fasaro, elevator.
Online?
There
And Ms. Fazari, you just have to take yourself off mute.
Thank you. Adrian Fusaro, 23 Maple Avenue. I'm hoping, and I thank you all for your hard work and due diligence and sitting down with the mayor and working through the budget and the issues at hand, that we are not seeing a big spike to 3.75%. And looking at some of the numbers and in hearing some of the streets that get mentioned, it almost appears to me, I keep hearing 4 or 5 houses on Academy Street, and that's a concern, and pipes might burst or things might happen. A lot of things might happen. And just as the previous commenter stated, we keep hearing about all of these people coming in. I'm not willing to bet the house that something awful is going to happen again. And I also want to stress that taxes never go down. They never ever go down. We also are being told that this would be an increase we won't see another increase for 3 or 4 years. Nobody can make a promise to me that won't happen. We don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or a year where we do have to do a major increase. So respectfully requesting that you guys limit this increase to something reasonable. I'm even good with 2.25%, but 3.75% is just, it's not acceptable. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public have any other comments?
There's someone in the line there.
Anybody else here? All right, seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Or move.
Chilio, second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rossetti,
Yes,
Ms. Tilly,
Yes.
Can I have a motion to adopt the 2023 municipal budget of the borough of Huntington?
Chilio, move.
Is there a second?
Parker second.
Okay. Discussion is now open.
Okay. So interestingly enough, we heard some public comments and this is a budget. This is a budget that should be cut and dry. This should be very much, let's pass a budget. We need to pass a budget. But this is, it's not so simple as it should be. And what I hope that we can talk about, and I heard a bunch of numbers, and that's out there. We're up here. This is this council's budget, and we need to decide what we're gonna be okay with. And I'm gonna be adamant about it. I want consensus on this because I'm tired of hearing and seeing and reading things and having these conversations where everybody seems to be all over the place. Well, you know, I got to thinking about this, and I think we need to sort this out. We've got Bill here, and I'm sorry, Bill, I'm sure you're gonna have questions, but you're a smart guy, you can handle it. We all know this. And you know, Bill will be honest with us, but we need to be honest with ourselves here. We need to come together as a council. Flemington Borough deserves a united council. I don't care what our political parties are, don't care. We need to be good for this town. We need to do what's right for this town, and that means passing a budget, and we need to discuss right now what we're gonna be okay with. Because it seems like 375, there's council members up here who are gonna vote no on that. They don't believe that's good enough. They believe it could go lower. Well, we also have council members up here who believe truly that, yeah, we gotta pay down some debt. Honestly, we do, okay? But we gotta meet somewhere here and figure this out. And I don't think this has to take 3 hours. I think this just has to take some honest assessment. And I'm curious as to what everyone's thinking is on this. I have had some reservations for the last couple of days, as I mentioned earlier, talking to not people in my ear, talking about neighbors who reach out and I talk to, friends in town. there's some concern. If they're concerned, I get to a point where if I have to vote on something, and I honestly, as a councilman, if in my head, I'm like, I don't know. That's a problem. I need to be certain on something. And I promise, there's two promises I make. I promise to my wife that my council stuff doesn't take up too much of our lives. I'm doing all right. It's been difficult. And two, I want to put my head on that pillow, and I want all of these people to put their heads on that pillow when they go home tonight and feel, you know what, I can go to bed. We reached a consensus, and when you reach a consensus, generally speaking, everyone's, all right, this works. It might not be perfect, nothing is. It might not satisfy, you know, a personal mission, but we talked about it, we sorted it out, and as your president, this is all I ask, is that we have a unanimous yes vote on a budget, which should be a non-political item. We have Bill here. I know the mayor feels strongly in certain regards. I know how Kim feels. I know how you two feel, but we need to figure out, you know, what's up. So I don't know, would anyone like to?
Can I ask you a question? Do you
absolutely.
feel that not having a consensus is a vote against you or
No.
your leadership?
No, absolutely not.
So I don't understand where.
Because I feel like it is a best
It's a-
practice
But this
for
is,
councils to be unanimous on this sort of thing. A budget? I mean, if this was like,
so with all the other conversations that we've had prior about the budget, why am I just hearing from you now? Why
because,
wasn't it a concern 2 weeks ago when we talked about the budget?
because if you remember, this started at 4.6, then went to 4.3. Talked this out with the mayor, got to 3.75,
Right?
and the more that sunk in, and the more I heard, and the more I thought about it, Kim, and I think things through, you know, and we're here tonight, we have this vote.
But you were good with the 3.75, so was that not thought through?
Maybe I just needed to let it settle in. I really did. And I hear from other council members are not comfortable with this. So I want to be able to walk out of here with, but two things, let's lay some ground rules real quick. I believe firmly in paying down some debt, 100%. That's, for me, that's, you know, if you're gonna suggest we don't pay any debt down, I don't think that's a starter. I also think we need to be listening and know, putting people on the defense, all right? We can't, we're not gonna get anywhere if we're going back and forth having that. We have to have a very natural discussion about this to get somewhere. We gotta get to yes. We gotta get to a number that's gonna work for every single person up here. I just think it's the right thing to do. Bill Hanson suggested, you know, in his, as CFO that, yeah, council has to be unanimous. So that's where I'm coming from, folks.
So here's my
I was
concern.
gonna say, a council, it looks great if a council be unanimous. My first 5 years in political office, I voted against every single budget, so, and it was.
Well, and
four to
Congress
one.
votes,
But
Congress is never
Go ahead,
unanimous.
Mr. Parker.
I understand what Jeremy wants to go, but council, I mean, Congress is never unanimous. Take my word for it, I've worked with them. But I think here's what I thought I'd heard over the weeks. And this is where this tire doesn't meet the road all the time. So you cannot say that we're not going to have a natural disaster. Do you know what's happening in the United States right now? Do you know what happened in Texas? Do you know what happened in Tennessee? Do you know what happened? There's always going to be a natural disaster because we're going through global warming. We have no guarantees that it's not going to happen. When it rained for a whole week here, I'm sure people got nervous about their basements and the whole bit. I know I did. So, I mean, the point of it is do you have the money to bail people out? Yes, I understand. Listen, everybody should be uncomfortable about a tax increase. Everybody. I went back, as a matter of fact, from the time that I moved to Flemington till now, and my taxes has been raised every year except 1 year. And that was last year because it was a political year. And you don't raise taxes in a political year. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. You just don't do that. That's just not good practice. So the point of it is if I add all that up, I'm going, well, wait a minute. I started here and now I'm here. Well, that doesn't bother me so much because I know what taxes were where I moved from, which were extremely high, but I chopped that up to the school system and things like that. If you want something to grow, you're going to have to invest in it. And I think Flemington is at a pivotal point right now. I keep hearing that everybody wants it to grow, everybody wants this, everybody wants this. But no one wants to sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed to do that. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be 3.75, I'm not saying it has to be 4. What I'm saying is that when someone says 1.75 or 2, you're kicking a can down the road and it just does not make business sense. This is still a business, and you have to look at it that way. A town, a community, everything is a business. Congress is a business, and you have to view it that way. I'm concerned that if there is a natural disaster, I'm concerned if there is, do we have the money for all this development that's going on? I'm concerned that we have to, when the development goes on, we have to buy a well or 2 wells or whatever the case may be, and how much is going to be kicked in for that and how much the borough has to kick in for it. I'm concerned about that there are certain services that may get cut. I'm concerned about that. And nobody wants that to happen. Yes, I understand, believe me. I am telling you, you probably don't pay as much tax as I do. I know what I pay. And I think I'm probably on the higher side of taxes. Does it bother me? Yes. Do I make the sacrifice? Yes. Because it's called growth and it's called development, and it's called moving on. And you have to do that. You can't stay and kick the can down the road. I specifically asked Bill, as we all talked to Bill, I specifically asked him, tell me how much taxes has been raised over the last 10 years. And sure enough, I kept seeing a 1.25, a 1.75, a 3.25, which was done in 2019, and then a 1.75. It's just, I kept saying to him, why is this fluctuating like this? I mean, it's going like this. It's constantly going like this, as opposed to, because at some point in time, you've got to do this, and maybe there's this, and maybe there's this. But at some point in time, you've got to get somewhere where there's some stability. And I don't see stability. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see stability. If I'm in corporate America and I do budgets, believe me, I control like millions of dollars of budgets, right? My husband controls $100 million budget. So I'm telling you, what if we dared not sit down and say, okay, this is the reality. And yes, just like the superintendent said, she had to make some really hard decisions on what to cut in order to make things happen and keep things sustainable and still grow. That's a hell of a task to do. And I think that's our charter. Our charter is, how do we make this work to keep the town growing and not the stagnation anymore that I moved into? Because I have to tell you something, if it's going to stagnate, a lot of us are out of here. And I can talk to you about the people I've talked to. You may have talked to people, I've talked to a lot of people too. It's like, you know what, I'm out of here. So do we do it on emotion, or do we do it based upon facts? That's the question.
So I'd like to chime in just for a moment. You know, you talk about stability and paying down debt and all these things, not you specifically, Tony, everyone who's talked so far. I would just like to point out, I'm not against paying down debt. If we can, that's great. We need to address that issue. I'm not saying we shouldn't. Where I'm coming from though, is that, you know, when we say scrimp and save, a lot of people are already scrimping and saving. You know, I know for a fact, when I go to the gas pump, when I go to the grocery store, when I try to do any repairs on my home, when I look at my health insurance raise, you know, our premiums have gone up, our deductibles have gone up, our co-pays we've all just been hit from every direction. You got a lot of people out of work still, whether you want to say COVID or whatever, you know, people get sick, kids get sick, people who are raising family are in a different position than some people who are not raising children. I think that, you know, when you look at us, and I think that maybe perhaps what Jeremy is referring to as trying to get to more of a unanimous place, is that we all represent a fraction of our community, each one of us here. And if all of us can't absorb that type of an increase, then that means there is certainly more of us in the community that cannot afford that. So I think that we really need to consider, you know, yes, we need to pay down debt. Yes, we need to prepare for disasters. But you got to remember too, that then all the money you're taking out of citizens' pockets, if they get hit with a disaster and they're not helped by the government, that's less money they have to handle their own personal disasters or their own personal problems at home. I don't want to be in a point where we're then having people choose between getting a lien on their house or putting food on the table for their children. Not to make it dramatic, but that's the position some people are in. So I would like to, you know, propose that we can get to a more neutral area. I think, you know, we certainly need a tax increase. I'm not against it in general. I think 3.75 is too much. And, you know, just consider it's not up for us to make other people's decisions. You know, yes, we have to think of it from a business standpoint, but in terms of how we would maybe personally choose to pay down our debt in our private lives, we can't force that on others. Some people can't choose to just pay more just because they want to get it done quicker. Some of us have to spread it over a more stable, you know, increase of 2%, rather than get hit all at once. That's all I got for now. Thank you for listening.
Before we move on this, I want to turn to Bill. And, you know, when this budget started, you know, Bill and I had some really hard conversations about how much debt this town has accumulated, especially over the last 4 years. And how much has been encumbered, especially over the last 4 years. Including there was as Mr. Parker said, I think it was a 3.5% increase in 2019, where nobody seemed to have a problem passing that increase. And that was the last year that anything significant went into the capital fund. In 2019, $50,000 went into the capital fund. And the rest of that tax increase went all basically to operating. And then in 2020, 2021, and 2022, this council only put $10,000 a year aside in the capital fund while allowing for a tremendous amount of over $500,000 to be spent from the capital fund on stuff. It wasn't all for bond issues. It wasn't the 5% down. Phones were purchased, computer software was purchased, key fob systems for the front door were purchased, all out of that capital fund. It was squandered, it was blown, and nobody said a word about that. Nobody said a word about what was happening as we continue to accumulate debt. So there was money being taken out of savings, which was our capital fund, and there was money being put on credit cards, which was all the bonding that was being done and the encumbering. And now we're here. We are where we are. We have a Main Street project from the Circle to William Street that has 100-year-old sewers and water systems underneath it. We can't just keep doing overlays. Our DPW is concerned that heavy equipment on that road is going to break pipes 20 feet down because of the vibrations at this point. That project is 30 years overdue, and today's dollars, it's between $3 and $4 million. And it's 30 years overdue. You want to talk about borrowed time? You want to talk about an emergency that people don't think might happen? All we have to do is rupture one of those water lines or one of those sewer lines 20 feet down. That's a 15-foot hole, a 15-foot wide hole. I know this because I talked to the DPW. I talked to them extensively about that Main Street project and what it's going to take to do and not kick it down the road again. Okay. I did not do an encumbering, an ordinance to go out and do the 1.7 for Academy Street. It was the people up here that did it before me. So, and then it's also the people up here before me that purchased a police building out of budget, not a line item at all. And then agreed that we were going to sort of find another $1.5 million to renovate it. $3 million out of budget, never discussed as part of a budget process. And now, I appreciate the council president saying he doesn't want this politicized, because all I hear from, a member of the public here, and it's not a surprise that she's the Democrat municipal chairwoman coming in here week after week after week, talking about the concern, but under her leadership as council president, she didn't have a problem passing a 3.5% increase. And nobody came out here and complained about that because people thought it was necessary. So I hear exactly what you're saying. I hear exactly what you're saying, Councilwoman Rossetti. I really do. I'm on a fixed income now. I'm retired. I get it. But if we want to keep moving forward, Academy Street, we've got an administrative consent order from the EPA to do the wet weather facility. We've got to do that in the next year or two. We have to. It's an administrative consent order from the federal government. That's another couple of million. I don't even think we have an estimate on what that's going to cost. Then there's the water problems on Academy that have nothing to do with 1.7. The 1.7 is just the road. It's not even addressing the flooding issues that we talked about at our last council meeting. So you've got Main Street, you've got Academy Street, you've got the wet weather facility on North Main Street. And I get your reluctance, but Bill, I'm gonna turn to you. You know, a member of the public asked you, what does 2.5% or 2% do for us in paying down debt? Be frank and honest about it. Where does it get us or where doesn't it get us if we want to do another $1.7 million encumbrance?
So the budget as is paying off an additional $320,000 of debt. If you were to reduce the increase to 2.59%, I just did a
2.59.
2.5%, 9% increase. I just did rough numbers, just trying to calculate stuff, but that would reduce by 66,000 the budget. Which instead of $314.67 increase, it's a $275.56 increase for the average house. So,
With that $39.
yep. So $39.11. Yeah.
So a $39, wait, so bringing down the budget to a 2.5% budget saves the average homeowner here $39. But what does it do or not do to the debt service that you and I talked about trying to get this under control?
So when if to make life easy to adopt the budget tonight, if you're gonna do an amendment. In order to do that, we can only change a budget appropriation by 10% or less. So you can't, if you're looking to change that payment of bond ordinance's deferred charge amount, you can't, since it's $320,000, you can't change that by more than 32,000. So you're gonna have to come up with the difference someplace else. The only other large places we have that is the capital improvement fund. You could reduce that by 15,000. And the other place would be the capital improvement for buildings, which you could reduce by 18,000. That would bring you to 66,000. If you wanted to, if you want to do something different, then we would have to do the amendment, introduce the amendment tonight.
But what is that? So you're giving us these numbers, 18,000 in the building fund and 32,000 in paying down debt and
15 from the capital improvement.
What is that? Where?
What does that change the debt? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, of the
So,
impact of
if we
being
do-
able to do Academy Street, for instance.
If we did that tonight, instead of paying off 320,000, you'd be paying off 290,000, say. So that
Can
would,
you repeat that? I'm sorry.
instead of paying off 320,000 approximately, you'd be paying off 290,000 extra of debt. So it's really between that and payment of bonds,
What about the building fund? What did you, what was that fund supposed to be going toward? And how much did you put in it originally?
so originally in there is 185,000. That was to be used for doing a phase of the police station. Instead of borrowing it, because we didn't want to borrow because we didn't have much capacity, we were going to put it in the budget and do it as a budget appropriation. So if the budget as is currently, we're paying off approximately $700,000 of debt principal. So at the end of this year, we'll be, instead of 12 million, we'll be 11.3 or 11.2 about of debt.
I'm sorry, that's if it's brought to
If it's what it is now.
Okay.
If it has now.
Thank you.
So if you reduce it by what I had stated, the 32,000, it's only going to reduce what we're paying off by 32,000. Unless you're looking to do more than that.
But you're talking $39 a household.
A house.
The difference. $39 a household. The large pizza with 2 toppings.
So what does that do in terms of our ability to borrow or bond? How does that affect that? Because that's really the bigger
Right.
discussion.
So really, I mean, this year, it's not gonna do it that much until we actually pay the stuff off this year. You know, and we don't make our principal payment, I think, until December on our 300,000 of the bond.
2023.
23, correct. So like January 1st of next year, we'll have the ability, I mean, unless we do the $1.7 million for this other iBank project, we would have the ability to do like another $700,000 of debt, which currently we have the ability to bond 4.1 million, we have 4.8, 4.9 million to be able to bond in January of next year,
If we stay where we are.
if we stay where we are.
But if we don't stay where
If we don't, yeah, it depends what you're reducing that by. I mean, like if you're doing what I have proposed, it's only gonna mean $32,000 difference. You know, so instead of 4.9, you'll be, 4.87.
Bill, I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The surplus, I think we have like 10,000 in the fund balance added for this budget, and then there's an anticipated 290 plus or minus thousand that's anticipated in like extra fees and stuff. Is that money permitted by law to go in another pot? You know, because I know that the fund balance is being adjusted by about 300,000. Am I not? That's what you and I had talked about. a while ago.
Right, so we're utilizing $370,000 of the fund balance to offset this year's budget.
Which is basically the amount you use every year,
We've used for the past couple.
pretty much the same
Correct.
number.
Yes,
So we're adding about 10 grand to the fund balance.
we're not adding to the fund balance, that's what I'm projecting we'll add.
Projecting, yeah, based
At the
on
end
the
of it, yeah.
anticipated fees.
Anticipated revenues and what'll be left over. It's all projection, it could be more depending on how revenues go.
Which is anticipated, but we can't take that into account, obviously, in the budget. So the fund balance is there's definitely 10 grand going in there, and the other balance that you said is being used to offset the rest of the budget.
The 370,
Mhm.
correct.
So what happens, let's just say it's 2.6. What happens next year? I mean, is that kind of warrant another tax increase?
Well, it depends also on what you do with this iBank project. Because with the iBank, as far as I understand it, once the project is completed, then you close on the loan, and then probably within 6 months, you have to make your first payment. So if we're done with the project next year, probably it might not happen until the 25, but you're gonna have to start making their debt payments right then and there, which would be, whatever the 1.6 to 1.7 million, I think it's a 20-year loan.
So if you did in the threes, let's just say, if you were, I'm just knocking around the 3.5, 3.5, I don't care what it is, but the point of it is how sustainable is that over the next 2 to 3 years that we're not to raise taxes?
It all depends on how quickly you want to pay down the debt, because if I don't pay it down and don't do it through the budget, I'm gonna have to borrow it because we're gonna have cash flow issues. We can't be spending the money without having the money in the bank account. So I'll have to borrow it, then you're gonna be paying interest. That's why the main reason we're trying to do this was to try to save on the interest payments.
And
Try to pay
I
it.
think that's the key, is those interest payments are spread out over time, correct?
Yeah, it's over the course of the.
Can you put it in terms of a house mortgage, right? Let's put it so, because everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody has a mortgage, but most people. And most of the council members have house mortgages or have had them in the past. So you get a 30-year fixed mortgage, in government, it's a 20-year fixed mortgage. And just like your house mortgage, if you pay it down in the beginning. Because at the beginning of a loan, you always make the interest payments are much larger than principal payments. And then over the time, your last couple of years of your mortgage, your interest payments are much smaller and you're paying more, all the principal at the end. It's the same thing. So what Bill and I are trying to get, what we were trying to do in this budget is to front load paying down the principal, so our interest payments are smaller, and that's the savings. I believe it was over $300,000 in the next couple of years, which is 6 cents in taxes. But 6 cents we don't have to raise in taxes if we pay down all this principal. And that's really, you know, that $39 extra will save everybody, which isn't even a penny of taxes, will save everybody 6 cents in taxes. It'll save everybody $300 if you do $39 now.
Over how long?
Over the next couple of years, right, Bill? How many years was it?
10 years?
No,
It was like 3 or 4 years. I
3 or
think.
4 years.
So I guess the person that is on fixed income, that's planning on retiring soon, they are obligated to a larger tax burden this year and won't necessarily see the benefits of that in 4 or 5 years when this is paid off. Somebody that's buying that house in the next 2 or 3 years will reap the benefits of what someone now is investing. I think one of the things the feedback that I've gotten and I have been steadfast from the beginning that I felt that this was too high. I think there's a way to balance it out. And I think Tony actually had a very good point. And I think that I even went back even further than the time. I know you've been living here, what, 7, 8 years? I went back 16 years and looked at all of the rate changes over the last 16 years. And it is extremely inconsistent, the up and downs. And I think that that spreading that out over time is okay. Like the mayor just said, there's a project that's been 30 years overdue that I guess some council 30 years ago said, you know what, let's pass that on to our kids, right? Essentially, because now it's gone to the next generation and a half. The USDA loans from the 1990s that the council passed then, we're still paying for those now. I think that spreading it out over time is a lot more sensitive and respectable way to recognize the burdens of your neighbors, especially in a year like this. My biggest fear is that as we head into the second half of the year, although I don't necessarily think that a pending recession is going to be maybe as bad as it was predicted 6 months ago, people lose their jobs in a recession. They lose their jobs in a recession. That is guaranteed. And I'm wondering how many people are going to be burdened with higher taxes, not only from us, but from the 2 school districts combined, and then have to pay a heavier tax burden. Bill, I know that Liz and I specifically asked you to run, and you were kind enough to send us the numbers on a 2% increase. I'm much more comfortable with a steady time and not saying, hey, we're gonna raise this very significantly now, and I guarantee you no tax increases in the future, which is what Marcia had said when she had first presented this budget to us. And while that's a noble goal, I think that the last administration and the administration before that and the administration before that, and I am not envious of them. I've learned a lot over the last 4 months about municipal budgeting, not just from the classes I've taken and not just from all the time that you have given me, Bill. I really appreciate that. I have actually spoken to 2 of the last 3 mayors, in addition to having some one-on-one time with Marcia, and I appreciate all of their time. I've spoken to residents that from both sides of, you know, who voted for both Marcia and for Betsy. I really tried to take a official survey of everybody I've met. And said, hey, by the way, do you realize what's going on with the budget and what is your opinion on it? And I'm getting the same response back from every single person. I think we need to be more balanced. I think we need to recognize the fact that we need to spread out our debt. And I want to ask you, Bill, when Liz and I asked to see the 2% budget, that allowed us still to do the to take the $2 million grant for the police station and the 1.7 for the smart streets, correct? I mean, those were some of the things that Marcia has warned us about. Are any of those projects that are pending, would they go away if we did the 2% budget that we had asked you to run completely?
It all depends on how comfortable you are with the debt ceiling. You know, like I said, currently we have $4.1 million available. If you're talking about, you know, adding another 3.7.
And what was when we asked for that 2%, what was it just fully, you just raised the debt ceiling to that maximum, or was there some sort of balance there when we asked you to run that 2%?
No, the debt ceiling doesn't change based on the budget. That's 2 different things. You had me reduce the paying off the debt to bring it down to 2%, which does then change how much debt we're paying off, therefore not increasing that gap.
But isn't there other things we can balance out to account for those changes? There isn't one line item to take from and one line item to put in. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what are you trying to affect? The tax rate, or are you talking about the debt ceiling?
Both.
Debt ceiling, the only thing that affects that is paying off the debt. The only way we could do that is through the deferred charges.
So the debt ceiling is a statutory calculation by state law. It's all of our assets in this municipality. Take it completely as a complete number of value. And then the last 2 years on top of that, and those 3 years are added up and then divided by 3. And the 3-year average of the complete asset value of the town is the debt, and 3.5% of that under state law is the debt cap. We can't do anything about it.
I understand that.
Okay, so it's fixed. So all Bill can do, and what we're trying to do, is make a bigger gap from that 3.5%, because otherwise, honestly, it would be complete insanity to borrow up to that limit, because God help us if we really have an emergency. Like I said, that sewer line underneath Main Street goes, it's $1 million just to open up the road. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I wish my champion was on the line. It's a 15-foot wide hole to go down 20 feet. That's what it takes in engineering terms. So.
I have a question for Susan. You just mentioned that the school taxes would be increased.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed that as school liaison, and we just listened to Dr. McGann's presentation, she clearly stated that the Flemington Borough tax rate is decreasing.
Yeah, it is, but there's still an increase. There is an increase, but yeah, we know it's going down. That's fantastic. But by a small percentage.
We can't control schools.
Yeah,
They're under their own jurisdiction. And we shouldn't be looking at what the school is doing, but they certainly aren't looking at what we're doing.
Right.
They do their own budgets every year.
I
and we should do our own
I
budget.
just wanted her to clarify where the school was increasing their budget when I clearly heard her say.
It was going
So-
down.
was going
If I used the wrong term,
So if I can-
hold on, let me answer her question, because she addressed me, and then I'm happy to set up. Maybe I used the wrong word, Kim. we have to take into account that they will be hit with some increase, the 1.08, I think was what she had said. And the high school district as well, but yes, we always recognize that the borough tends to have a lesser.
But that's not true
percentage.
either. The only reason that it's lesser this year is that Raritan Township has more students enrolling in the school than Flemington Borough. does.
Right.
So our enrollment has declined.
Right.
So can I, oh, sorry.
Let me just say this. First of all, not comfortable, I would say 2% is just not gonna do what we needed to do. But I also talked to some mayors who are friends of mine, and I asked them about a budget, and I said, tell me how you guys do a budget, and tell me how you pass what the tax laws, the tax things. And one of the mayors says, here's the problem, if you don't have a lot of ratables, you put yourself in a bind, which a lot of the towns in New Jersey don't have ratables. I mean, that's the bottom line. You don't have ratables. So now what do? And I got all kinds of things. And I also talked to people, and I didn't ask them for their affiliation because I don't really care. I care less what they vote for. That's not I'm not carrying other people's luggage. I just want to know what you think. So the bottom line is that, and it's all over the board. No one's saying that, yes, this should happen, this should happen. But when you explain to them, this is what's going on, people begin to understand. Now, I do understand, and I'm very sensitive to the fact that there are people who are living paycheck to paycheck. That's not only in the borough, that's around the country. But that didn't stop anybody from raising taxes just because they did that. In terms of a recession, yes, there may be a recession and people are going to lose their jobs. But whether you raise the tax or not, they're still going to lose their jobs, but they still have to pay a mortgage and they still have to pay taxes and they still have to do this. That is not part of the equation. The part of the equation really is, how do I ensure that we have the ability in case of an emergency to do what we need to do, and everybody doesn't stop and start pointing fingers, because that's exactly what's going to happen in this town. You know it and I know it. And so the point of it is, what do we do to ensure that that doesn't happen? I don't want to hear the background noise of what other people are. I think it's up to these people in this room and on that video right there to talk about, and again, I'm sensitive to the fact that people would live paycheck to paycheck. One point in time in my life, I did too. So I get that. The bottom line is that did not stop from meeting my obligations and the whole bit. That's just the way it is. The point of it is let's take all of that off the table for a second. Let's look at the borough. Let's just look at the borough. So New York City is having more and more, they're just as old as we are, and they're having more and more water main breaks. They're having buildings falling down now. They're having bricks falling from buildings. They're having a rat problem. They're having this problem. They're having that problem. They're just as old as we are. So is Philadelphia. At one point in time, there was, every small historic town, Somerville had the same, because I knew the mayor of Somerville. I know it took for them to build Somerville up. I knew what it took because I was friends with them. So the bottom line is nobody escapes. No one escapes. You just have to make a decision and saying, how do we want to move the town forward? That's the decision you have to make. I get all the rest of it. I am extremely sensitive to people who are living paycheck to paycheck or can barely make that. The next question is that the ones who, if we don't have the ratables because not everybody, people are doing more renting than buying, then what does that equation look like? Because that's another equation that you have to put into this factor. So I'm just like really kind of confused, for lack of a better word, in terms of what direction is the council actually trying to go to?
Well, that's what I want to drill down on. Two questions, and this is where we could kind of get down to business. I just want to make sure that we agree on two things as a council. One is, we do want to pay down debt, right?
Yes.
Two is, we recognize there has to be some sort of tax increase.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
We agree on two things right now, every single one of us. What we don't agree on is the amount. We mentioned 2%, too low. 2.5,
Too
Bill, too low.
That's what you're comfortable with is.
I want to talk about this, what this number is gonna look like. What is this tax rate? What are we gonna do?
So again, this gets to, you know, the future of this borough. And we, as I said, we have a police building that we don't have the money to finish. That's one thing. And we need another $1 million to finish that police building. And we have a $2 million earmark sitting in Congress that I worked very hard to get us in both the Senate budget and the congressional budget, which we won't know about for at least 6 months, whether we're getting that money. But we still have to encumber money to get that money, even though it'll be 100% reimbursed. We still have to encumber that money. So that's one project out there where we have a police department that, what's that song? You can't stay here, but you can't go home. So it's sort of like that right now. And we don't have the money to do that project. And like, how important is that project? We have the Academy Street project. There's the road project where you've got $1.7 million sitting there. Again, it's going to require a bond ordinance. None of that money has been encumbered. There's a drainage issue on Academy, which in all schemes of things, I figure out how important that is. You've got the kick down the can for 30-year infrastructure program on South Main Street. And then there's the federal ACO, the administrative court order from the EPA, the federal government, to fix the wet weather facility. So, you know, it's great to want all this development and be the hub of everything, but if you don't have an infrastructure to support it, and, you know, to Susan's point, she's concerned about paying down all this debt right now, and somebody who's going to be retiring and moving out of town, they don't get the benefit of having to pay heavy next year. But all that infrastructure work is a 20 to 30-year commitment. So all the people moving in will be paying over time for all of it. But it's about trying to get this under control. We have a $4 million gap right now of what's left, of which I don't think we should ever go closer than 2 million in case there's a rupture in a road. And even 2 is squirrely. I mean, I'm a 1.7 person. We're at 2.6 right now. Bill's at a 1.7 person too. Bill, 1.7. What do you think? What's the most debt we should really cover in this town on our cap? 3.5. Where are you comfortable? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I know where I am. I'm 1.5 to 1.7. Where are you?
I'm looking at maybe, I don't know what the percentage is, but 8 million or so, 7 million.
You would be comfortable at 7 or 8 million. Max. Paying it down, borrowing more, paying it down, borrowing more, never exceeding 7 to 8 million. We're at 12 now. So you would be comfortable if we paid down 4 or 5 million before we borrowed another penny.
Yeah, the problem is there's with our debt schedule as is, there's nothing really big dropping off anytime.
And then we haven't talked about the fact that we've got a fire truck we're going to be taking possession of. And then we're gonna have to start paying that off in 2025 or 2024.
I think next year I'm gonna have to borrow it by the end of this year because we'll have to have the money available to pay for it next year. I have to find out from them when delivery is.
Delivery's October 20.
Okay, so.
Next year.
Next year.
24.
So probably March, April, we'll have to start the process of borrowing that money.
I mean, this is really about opening up that gap and paying down principal before it becomes interest payments, so that $300,000 isn't wasted. I mean, the taxpayers get to keep that. They're never paying it as interest. They get to keep it because we're going to be paying down so much principal. That's why I said in the beginning of this, I'm even leery about borrowing that other 1.7 to do Academy at this point, because I'm not comfortable with this amount of debt. I wouldn't carry this in my own personal life, this kind of debt. You know, I pay off my credit cards every month. You know, not because I can, because I have to. I have to. I'm on a fixed income. I cannot carry debt. And, you know, unfortunately, this town, we are where we are. It's not my doing. I'm trying to fix it. So, you know, and it's my recommendation. It's Phil's recommendation that we just bite this bullet and we do it. And, you know, like I said, this council didn't have a problem doing 3.5% a few years ago and 2.7% a couple of years ago. But now all of a sudden, 3.75, we're really trying to address a major structural problem in our budget, because per the council vice president, nobody's ever really discussed debt and what it's doing to this town ever on this council before. Well, here we are, guys, we're discussing it, and this is what it's doing to us. It is prohibiting us to move forward. You guys all want to move forward. Liberty Village and Agway and all those places, you know, it's symbolism over substance. It's not moving forward the infrastructure problems of a 100-year-old town. You know, we don't even know if our pipes and our stuff can handle all of this. You know, whether we're going to need splitters, whether we're going to need new installations of sewer lines. We have no idea, because nobody's looked underneath that road in 100 years. All we know is every time we repave it, it ripples within 2 years because the pipes underground are buckling.
All right, so we all agree, these are valid concerns, we all have them, we want to make sure that plumbing flourishes here, all right? We have to consider a tax increase, but in the end, we will be able to pay down debt. We have to get to something, and if 375 is not gonna get everybody yes voting, we need to figure out what that number's gotta be tonight. We gotta figure this out. So Bill, I mean, can we throw some numbers your way and see what's like, we gotta meet in the middle, by the way, folks, like we have to.
Meet in the middle of what?
Can I just say, Bill is not policy. Bill will do whatever you want, and he's gonna make these numbers work however you want it. This is about the policy decision. This is what the 6 of you get paid for, is to make a long-range policy decision about the future of this borough. It is not Bill's job to do this, okay? You have to make a decision whether or not you want to bite the bullet and fix this gap and make it bigger so that we can do other infrastructure projects in the future. If we don't, we're going to just be in the same place in this limbo muck of a $4 million gap for the next couple of years, unless you guys get crazy enough to increase more debt. And that is insanity. It's insanity. After what the councilman said about you know, the climate change and we saw it with Ida. We saw it in this town with Ida. You know, we're not immune. We are in a floodplain. We have FEMA floodplains running all over this town that have been developed. And we got a developer right now who wants to build in a FEMA floodplain and elevate the ground. So, you know, this is not a dream. It is a reality. It is not, you know, if it's going to hit Flemington, it is when it's going to hit Flemington. 10 years ago, I would have said to somebody, you're nuts if you ever think we're going to have a tornado in Flemington. I don't say that anymore. It's only a question of when we have a tornado in Flemington that rips this town apart. So, you know, I am not a climate denier. I absolutely believe in this. I know, you know, I know a lot about FEMA and FEMA floodplain from prior lives. So, you know, it's all a big concern. So you either have to do the right thing or don't do the right thing. And you have to decide what the right thing is. Is the right thing the long-term health of this town and the infrastructure improvements, or is it the short-term health of, you know, of some constituents who may have a problem financially? But what's their problem going to be if we have to pass emergency budget appropriations? I mean, it's 6 of one and a half the other. If we lose a truck, a fire truck in a disaster, which is not, I mean, it happened all over the place with Ida. There were towns that lost, one town lost 6 trucks. Which town was that?
We had an issue in Middlesex.
They lost a truck in Middlesex, but was it Manville that lost all fleet of trucks?
I think Somerville had some issues.
Somerville lost its whole fleet of trucks. This
It
is
was a low-lying point.
right, 17 miles away. This is 13 miles away. This is not an impossibility here. So
I have a question. So I think that looking at it as kind of like what you're saying, Mayor, right or wrong, like it's not a right or wrong. If you're saying Bill can crunch whatever numbers we want and keep us afloat, you know, there is no necessarily right or wrong. It's like, what is sustainable? Yes, for the growth of the borough, but also for our residents, you know what I mean? So I agree, like, yes, what is the middle, but where can we meet in the middle? We also need to consider, like, if we can stay afloat for a year at, say, just throwing random numbers, say 2.5, right? Or Bill said 2.59, I think was what he thrown out there, right? So that gives us another year to think about, okay, how quickly can we progress some of these redevelopment projects? How quickly can we get these ratables back on the books? How quickly can we, see other sources of revenue come in, see how cannabis is doing a year from now? Can we just stay afloat at a more stable point until we can evaluate some of these other factors? Do we really need to do this giant jump right now? And that's the thing, there is no right or wrong. So what's the best for everyone in our borough, all of our constituents? That's
Councilwoman, an excellent point, and I have to tell you, when Bill and I structured this budget together before we brought to the council president and to you, one of our discussions was about the cannabis revenue and other revenue sources, and how when we talk about not needing another tax increase for a few years, most of the money in this increase is going to debt. Very little is going to operating. And there is a trust that cannabis money and these other revenue sources are going to offset the need for an operating increase while we continue to pay down debt. So that money's sort of been accounted for already, because the debt is so massive in this town. And, I have been doing this a long time, and I think that's why I feel the weight of this more than some of you do, because and I think Bill also, because we've seen other budgets, we've seen other municipalities, we know what that debt looks like in other towns and how weighty this really is. And so, again, we get down to a $39 savings at 2.6%. It's a $39 difference in what households are going to pay. So it's an ability to, and that $39 is really, it's about paying down that principal to save interest money in the future. Otherwise, we are going to continue to have significant tax increases every year, because we're going to be paying more and more interest every year. And that's really the issue, is that this 3.75% increase is a sustainable flat increase, because the debt service will be paid down in big chunks to avoid interest payments, while the other revenue sources are doing the operating increases that are sort of out of our control. And again, it's $39. $39. I don't want to sneeze that, it's like I said, taking out somebody's Pizza Friday, but what it comes down to.
I just think, that's considering that people can even afford a Pizza Friday. I just think there's another side of some of the people in our borough that we're maybe not considering. Some people may never have a Pizza Friday to begin with. So where are they going to come up with that? Our property values are already going up, which is a great thing, but that doesn't increase our cash flow now. So, we're already paying more taxes even without such a significant increase. I know we're just kind of talking in circles now, but I would like to talk about, some specific numbers, like Jeremy was saying, like, is there something we can all get to some sort of agreement on?
Working with what we already agree on. We're gonna pay down debt, we're gonna have a tax increase. What's it gonna be? Right? I think that we all are on the same page. It's just the next step. What do we gotta do? What's the number that's gonna work that's going to accomplish that goal? So, and again, I want to make sure that we all agree here, okay? And right now we don't.
Well, I don't think we're all gonna agree, even if we discuss it, so. You throw out some numbers and we'll see where we are.
All right, does anybody have anything they wanted to toss out there? All right.
Yeah. You mean a number?
Yeah.
I'll go 374.
Thank you.
Kim didn't want to go down. 2 months ago, Kim was down to go get 4%. So
That's great.
for everybody to know that 2 months ago, Kim was to go down below 4%. She agreed to go down to 375.
Yeah,
No, 374.
Yeah, 374, so one she put on the table. There you go. That was great. I appreciate that. Give you a little humor. Yeah. I think that when we started this, and I think that I just want to piggyback on something that I was just going to throw out a number, but I want to piggyback on something that Liz mentioned, because it is the I want to be sensitive to the constituents that that we're talking about here that can't afford this, can't afford anything. I think that I know that Marcia, you've been pretty clear that when I first met you and we talked budget a little bit even before I took office in December. And we sat down at your house and you said we were going to you were sensitive to the fact that you said we had a young in experienced years council, and you kind of insinuated that in your last comments. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think being able to recognize that some constituents, as you said, really can't afford this is really, really important, and we need to stay very, very, very sensitive to that. So that's what I wanted to add on to what Liz said. I think as a number, I'd like to start with 2.25. I know that I had started with 1.75 back when this was first presented to us. I know that we got that budget originally, that original 4.6 budget on a Sunday, and Bill was nice enough to come that next day for the council meeting to discuss it. And I know that Jeremy was appointed as the finance committee at our first meeting in January. But really, I know you and I, Marcia, never discussed, what I was comfortable with as a percent increase.
Okay, so that's what we're asking. You.
So I'm going with
As a percentage.
2.25 is what I'm going with right now.
So
Okay.
let me just put this all on the record. I don't think any one of us up here in this council not sensitive to our constituents.
I'm not saying we
No,
are.
but that keeps being brought up. We are extremely sensitive to our constituents. That's why we sit on this board. That's why we sit here in this council. So taxes are a nemesis. They just are. It is what it is. And listen, we either created this mess or it was created for us, or whatever the case may be. We do this, one finger goes to somebody else and another finger comes back to you. So always when you're pointing something, everybody has skin in this game, right?
I can't agree with you more.
So let's take that off the table, that we have to be sensitive to our constituents.
Listen,
I'm extremely sensitive to constituents because I know people who cannot afford a lot.
And
I have friends who cannot afford a lot, and I'm extremely sensitive to them, but I get tired of hearing we need to be sensitive. I'm as sensitive. I know everybody up here is sensitive. So let's take that off the table. please.
Listen, I'm one of the constituents that you need to be sensitive to. Because I'm sure I am one of maybe two council people that was still able to file for the homestead rebate program, which I know a lot of you were not. So, and I know that we need to be fiscally responsible to this borough.
So we
And the
got,
numbers that Bill has presented to us, that wise.
we gotta be reasonable here. And we're not gonna like sit here and negotiate back and forth incrementally. We just can't do that.
All right, what are you doing?
That's what you had suggested, I thought.
Well, not incrementally,
Okay,
but we have to start somewhere. So
that's where I'm starting.
we have to start in a ballpark that is gonna give Bill something to work with. So I'm gonna suggest that, Bill, can you look at the number 3.259? And see what that does. And what I'd really like to know is how much per household is that? Because that's what speaks to the
3.259,
259, yeah.
3.259. Okay.
3.259.
Can I ask why the nine? Was that like one of those 99.99?
Well, maybe not 3.25, because that might be too low for you, Tim.
The 3.5 is too low for me.
Let's see what you got. For that, when you talk to people, it's always about the percentage, which they freak out about. And then some of them will, when they say, well, why, what do I get out of it? Where's the bang for my buck? And you go, well, we're paying down debt.
Well, that's why I was trying to make the point that 3.75 versus a 2.5 is a $39 decrease. difference. It's nothing.
Right, right.
I mean, in the big
Yeah.
scheme of things,
Yeah.
it's really not.
No, I get it, yeah, and I agree.
And I don't want to be insensitive to people who get homestead rebates, but we're talking $39 to be able to do infrastructure projects and open up that margin of debt.
Marcia and Bill, can I ask a question while Bill's working, let me ask the question to Marcia.
If
so
I
don't
can
bother
answer.
him. In years past, the budget, kind of conversations that I've heard over all the years, that I've been kind of keeping track of, what's going on the council. I remember one, meeting specifically, in Phil's administration where the tax assessor came and talked to the council. And then the fire department came and talked to the council, and the police, everybody kind of came and went through, the majors, the DPW came and went through and talked to the council. It was at budget meetings, it wasn't necessarily at the council meetings. I know you guys did that. What was there anything during that process? I'm trying to kind of give Bill some.
I know. So-
That kind of stood out to you.
So Bill did that.
Mhm.
I did not do that. Bill did that. Bill met with all the department heads and talked to them about what they needed. I did talk to DPW. I did talk to the police. But by the way, prior to Bill, that was not the process. They never had budget meetings.
Well, I'm talking about the
But I'm
last
saying-
8 years.
But I'm saying, so Bill did that conversation
Mhm.
with all the departments. So he'd have to speak on that. I mean, the chief told me, we talked about cars.
Mhm.
We talked about the disaster that the car lease program has wreaked over the last couple of years, and I believe in, the police department actually keeps we've been leasing cars for the last couple of years. And this is a police department that manages to hold on to cars for up to 10 years. A lot of police departments burn out, like in Raritan Township, where it's 37 miles, they about burn out cars very quickly.
That makes sense, yeah.
But in a town where you're holding a car for 10 years, it doesn't make sense to lease them. So, so I agreed with him very strongly that we should go back to a purchasing program. And he's 2 cars behind, and I told him this budget, we could probably give him 1, which is in the budget. And then we'll try to make up the second, like do a year, either next year or the year after, where we get him the 2 to get him back into that 1 car a year.
We're spreading it out.
Well, he was getting 1 car a year, but he's behind 2 now, right? So if we get him a car now, and then if we can get him 2 cars in the future, either next year or the year after, he's back to a car a year. And then the DPW is totally good. They didn't need anything. The DPW was fine. But the other departments you said were,
As far as everything else, I mean, we basically asked them to hold the line, with their budgets.
I'm sure you did. I guess my question is, I feel like we're kind of behind the 8 ball because we received the budget and we all, we were like, hey, talk to Bill about it. But like, I would have really liked to have heard from the tax assessor, and I would have liked to have heard from the tax assessor. I don't need a written invitation.
the problem with
But
the
I
tax
think that
assessor
would have
is-
been really helpful to lead us so that you're not, because I know you're frustrated saying, why now? Why tonight are we finally saying, hey, I'm more comfortable
Let
with
me
this than
interrupt the
that.
tax assessor, because I know there's been some chatter that you've always had the tax assessor coming in. I don't know anything about that, but I will tell you that the tax assessor had a lot of trouble getting us the rate this year, because the county system they were having a major problem with the county system. So the tax rate was from weeks late, and in fact, I don't know how many people in this room got apology notes, because my assessment went up, and then I got an apology letter that it went down, and
Oh, I didn't get that letter. Let me have yours.
So,
I certainly didn't
but
get
it's all
that
because
letter.
of the county system, and that's why there was no discussion about having
I
it come in,
appreciate that.
because the county. I don't know do you know what happened to Vital? I mean, I don't know what happened to it.
They don't have the contract this year, let's put it that way.
That's what happened, or now they don't have the
Now
contract,
they don't
because
have
of whatever happened, they don't have the contract.
Yeah.
So that's why it was never even a thought about bringing him in, because all I kept hearing from Bill is, we don't have the assessment yet, we don't have it yet.
And so it's May 8th, and I feel like we just gotten a chance to say, hey, in public, I'm not comfortable with this, because I haven't been
I take
comfortable with it
exception
for
to that.
2 months.
Ted, I put Bill in here to 2 public meetings where there was no time limit, and he was here twice. I also, unlike the prior mayor, told you to go talk to the CFO Everything used to have to go through her. I give you full access to the
And
CFO.
I
So
made it clear
I take
he was-
exception that this is the first time you got to discuss it, because you couldn't
No,
discuss it in
in-
March,
in
you couldn't
public.
discuss it. He was here in public.
It
Who
is-
says you guys approved the special meeting
The
minutes?
first time Bill was here, we had in our hot little hands this budget for 24 hours. I don't think it's fair to have.
It wasn't 24 hours.
It-
You said.
We all got it on Sunday.
No, Bill sent it out Thursday or Friday.
Friday. It was sent on a
We
Friday.
weren't even,
No,
none
no,
of.
you and I had a problem with our email, that,
we
you and I
didn't-
had a
We weren't
problem.
told
with it.
about it until I was
We-
told.
we-
the
we-
vendor-
I'm just saying that it was sent,
We did not
I'm,
get it.
no, I'm set the record straight, sent from the CFO on Friday
Okay,
before the meeting.
I know Liz didn't get it till Sunday. I didn't get it till Sunday.
I'm
It
just
doesn't-
telling
it's not
you
your
that the
fault, it's
CFO
not
sent it
anybody's
on a
fault.
Friday, that's the problems with the emails, that's separate from when it was.
I'm
sent.
not blaming, I'm
So I
not
don't think he's
blaming.
blaming anybody.
I'm not blaming, I'm saying this, I think that it's very difficult to analyze an entire budget 24 hours before we have the access to Bill. Bill has been wonderful. He has answered every
Wonderful.
question. He spent hours with me. I get it. But after 2 months of looking at this budget, I still don't feel comfortable with that much of an increase. I'm sorry, but that's where I sit right now.
Susan, how come you never called me to discuss this with me? Did you not think that I deserved a conversation from you about it?
I haven't discussed it with any of my, of
So
the
you,
councilmen.
so you waited until tonight?
Couldn't we ask for a special meeting? I would be happy to do more special meetings.
Well, maybe
We
you do.
actually talked about that at the last public meeting. We talked about having special meetings. I'm sure there was,
At the last meeting?
not
at
there
the
were
last
public
meeting.
comments as to, hey, why don't we have these special meetings? It just, look,
I think that was brought up in public.
yeah, it was, so,
I
and
think
sorry,
what she
Kim, if
said,
you
it was
felt
brought up
like.
by the public.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kim, if you felt like I should reach out to you. I really do. I didn't realize I should. I really thought we were analyzing.
You don't think, it's not a requirement, but
Yeah.
it's a courtesy.
Can we get, Bill, did you run 3.259?
3.259 is reducing the budget by $33,500. And it would mean a reduction of $19.85 average house.
So it saves $20 a house.
From what they're paying now.
From what,
From what you.
And what is it they're paying down the debt? Where's the hit?
well, if you choose to take it out of the debt payoff, it would reduce that pay you down by 33.5. I mean,
By $33,000.
correct,
Till the original 320,000.
right.
Reduce
would
that.
Reduce that, I mean, unless you want to reduce the
Is
capital
that more than,
improvements.
is that more than 10%?
No,
It would be, yeah, it can only be 32,000, yes.
So they're gonna have to
it
come out of the capital
would take,
fund.
yeah, that would take 1,500 from someplace else,
So it's still,
No,
we're not like,
we're not where we need to be.
Where you want, what do you mean?
No, he's saying that I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You said it's gonna reduce it by how much?
$20 a household,
Right, but what is that gonna do?
$33,500 out of the out of paying,
32,000.
32 out of paying down debt and 1,500 out of paying down, 1,500?
1,500.
Out of paying in the capital fund, which is our,
That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
understand, the rate of the 1,500.
and that's leaving the building fund intact to work on the police building.
Correct,
that doesn't.
What?
3259.
what do you mean?
What do you mean?
As far as like
What do you
paying debt down,
He's wondering if
well,
that.
how much
that-
debt are you looking to pay down?
well, I guess that's really good
I
question.
guess that's the question.
Yeah,
But that's why we started at 4.5% and you guys all screamed, because we really wanted to pay it down.
well, we do want to pay it down for
And-
sure, so
And
I
that
mean,
was
I guess.
the councilman to my left who wanted to do that, and the councilwoman to my right. And then you and I got into that discussion, it got down to 3.75, which he agreed to do and he agreed to do. And that's where we are now, at 3.7. That was the compromise down to really pay down debt, because that was gonna really pay down debt.
So Jeremy.
We weren't part of those conversations, though, so I guess that's where I'm a little.
Well, I reached, I
I
did
would-
talk to
No,
him.
he did talk.
I did talk to him.
That's
So,
how I knew
I told Jeremy how I felt and
Right.
sure he was my
He
concern.
did.
Yeah, I did.
He absolutely did.
Took stock of where everybody was at.
He absolutely has. He and I have talked frequently about this.
Yeah, so I mean, we
So are
gotta,
you saying the 3.259? Are you saying that can work or cannot work? That's what I'm trying to understand. Is
it
in
doesn't,
your mind?
in my mind, I don't know if it works, because then I wanna address Kim's question, how much do we do we wanna pay down $320,000 of debt, or do we wanna pay down maybe a little less than that, and what are we gonna be okay with? If we're paying a little less, that would help our tax rate, that would change the tax rate from 375. So we gotta figure out,
Right, but what does that do to our bonding
Yeah,
rate?
that's what I keep going back to.
Because we haven't discussed any of that.
Wait, either, you need our rating?
Our rating, yes,
Our
our rating, our bond rating.
Okay,
Rating?
the rating, so, okay,
That's a whole
so
nother.
when we want to convert all this debt, and right now there is almost, well, there's 8 million encumbered, of which about 5.5, I think, is actually borrowed. Bill, is that right?
Sounds about right.
Does that sound about right? So when we want to convert that from long-term debt, and that won't be until the interest rates settle down a little bit, which could be in 2 or 3 years, then we have to go out for a bond rating. And that involves getting our bond counsel involved, and probably like a house like MW Financial, who's doing the financial analysis for our redevelopment projects. They're experts at this, and they become a team with the CFO. And there's a big Q&A, and they look for and before they go out to the rating houses, which are Standards and Poor's, for example, and Dun & Bradstreet, who I don't like as much, they're really expensive and they give crappy ratings. They're more conservative and more expensive. Standard and Poor's is good. So, but you don't have to go, you only have to go to one, so you don't have to go to more. Standard and Poor's is fine. And, they're gonna look at that time, they're gonna look at the surplus. They're gonna want to see that a little tiny bit of extra money was going into that fund balance every single year. That we're moving towards having a surplus of about 25% of our budget. They're gonna look for that. They're gonna look for the trend that more money's going in. Not that we're there, but the trend. They're gonna look for a debt management plan, which hopefully this council will be adopting, as soon as this budget's put to bed and I can finish the document and you guys can look at it and Bill can bless it and send it to you. And they're gonna, look to see if we have a debt management plan. They're gonna look to see how much money is going in to pay down this debt. These are very conservative. The ratings companies are all conservative. They don't like debt. And one of the things that they look at is how the potential growth in a municipality, like right now, like the atmosphere in Flemington Borough, it's very electric, everybody wants to be here, there's a lot of stuff happening. But they want to see that movement, they're gonna ask questions about our infrastructure, they're gonna want to know that we're doing infrastructure improvement projects, that those aren't languishing, that we're looking at the capital health of our borough besides filling buildings. I mean, they look at all of it. I've been through 2 of these on a municipal level, and I've been on like $750 million bond ratings for education funding. So like it's a really grueling, exhaustive process. But that's what they look like. They look for those trends that the health of the municipality, the fiscal health, the physical health are all being accounted for. But again, we have a couple of years to put that in. We're not gonna lie about that, we have a couple of years to put all that in place. Again, it's the trend, to see that we're moving this stuff forward. We don't have to have it all in place right now. They're gonna do a few year look back and see where we were moving.
They're gonna see that we increased the surplus little tiny by little tiny. In
Yeah.
the last 8 years.
Yeah,
They're gonna look
they
at,
would note that, yes.
right, they're gonna look, and I actually had a whole conversation about this with Bill. And he was saying that, that there's really no way to predict what your rating will be, but there's only so, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, Bill, but I walked away from that conversation basically saying that there's not going to be that, the tendency is it won't be a huge change as far as the rating itself goes, when it comes to municipality, like you said, it wasn't, we couldn't, like, we'll never get a AAA rating.
We can't.
Right, that's how I walked away from
Yeah,
that
I doubt it's gonna
conversation.
change too much in 2 years.
That's
you
what you
know?
said, that's how I walked away, it's not gonna change from what it is now in 2
We're
years.
we're in A minus right now. I think we could conceivably, you know, move up. But the most, a little, you know, the ratings are based on this, the maximum assets you have. So Hunterdon County has a AAA rating. They're a AAA plus rating because they have enough ratables that they can be valued at that, and they have no debt. They carry 0 debt, all their roads are being done. They have a huge surplus and a huge rateable base, right? So they have a AAA plus rating, which is better than the state of New Jersey's. But a little municipality, we can never reach any more than a AA. It's not possible because we'll never have those assets to rate us above a AA. But right now we're at A negative. I really like to get that negative off and become an A.
I'm just saying, I don't think that, I don't necessarily know if that this conversation is really realistic or more importantly relevant to the short-term task at hand. I get it that it's a long-term goal, and I think no matter what we do, it'll
Who
move
asked the
us in the
question?
right
Who asked the
direction.
question about ratings? Okay.
It was Kim that asked. the
Okay.
question.
Did you get did I give you the answer that you were looking for? Okay. Well,
Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement.
there is definitely room for improvement, and every little bit of improvement is anywhere from 1/4 to 0.5% less in interest we pay, which is over 20 years, a lot of money.
And I think the recent rates, from what I saw on something from our financial advisor, for someone in our category, the rates are like between 4.9 and 5% for 20-year bond.
That's a lot.
From what I saw from our financial advisor, is he gave out recent rates, recent sales. In some towns that were similar in rating to us, it was between 4.9 and 5%.
You don't happen to know what like
I-
just an A rating was,
Well,
what the rate would be for any rating?
Yeah, I don't know.
Versus the A minus.
I could see, he gives out a summary every month of recent sales in New Jersey. And I'll see if there's anything that has that.
We still haven't come up with how much debt do we want to pay?
Yeah, let's talk about this, figure that out, because, I mean, look, by the way,
That's the whole answer.
yeah,
That's the
I
key to
agree
all of
with
this.
you.
that's it. So we were talking 320,000, okay? That's what originally, right? Let's say, I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, 320 was at the 3.75.
At 375, yes.
The maximum you could take off is 32. All the debt.
Off of that, yes.
Without
You can take off is 32, the rest.
Without
you have to take off
reintroducing the
other-
budget?
Other line items.
You'd have,
Without reintroducing the budget.
so you'd have to, if you do more than that, you have to introduce an amendment
Mhm,
and then have to advertise and adopt another.
that's fine.
So is that 3.35 then?
It's what to.
If you raise it to 3.35, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. From the 3.259
She said if you raise it to
to 3.35?
So you want me to figure that out? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that where the 10% is?
no, the 10% is the 32,000.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
10%
Decrease.
of that. You can increase, you can decrease or increase any individual line item in the budget by 10%.
Right, so where does 3.35?
So you'd still be able to take 32,000 off of the debt if you want to, or you could take something off of the building fund for the police building, or you could take off something out of the capital fund and not put that kind of money into the capital fund.
What would you take off the least? What would you take off the least?
I'm just hypothetically saying they're his biggest lines. Those are the biggest lines in the debt, in the capital budget.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm just trying, no, that was just more of a.
I'm just throwing this out here, don't jump down my throat. Yeah, no, I'm not messaging anything, but don't jump down my throat. But why don't we vote this down and come back in 2 weeks with something like better that we all can agree on and put our heads together? I'm just throwing it out
Is that
there.
gonna make a
It's-
difference?
But it's not necessarily better than what we have, so. Jeremy, what's the number?
I thought we were good at 375.
I never was.
So-
Like
I said, don't jump down my throat.
I'm not just
throwing it, I'm just throwing it out there. That is an option.
Jeremy wants a unanimous vote, and you were always gonna be a no vote unless they go down to 2.25. So I'm just saying, what's your number, Jeremy?
How do you know that?
Because you just said it.
No, I didn't say that. You asked, where do you want me to start? Throw a number, and I said
Well,
two
what-
point
how-
two five.
Okay, so
Do
let's
where's-
reverse that then.
Where is the top I want to
Yeah,
be?
yeah, yeah. Why don't you do that?
Two
That might be-
point 59. That's the top I will go.
All right,
Well,
let's
I'm not
talk
going that
about
low.
how much we
What
want to
about you,
stuff
Liz?
away.
Well, let's ask Liz. What about you, Liz?
I don't have an exact number in my mind. I think that 2.59 would be acceptable to me, what Bill was talking about earlier.
I'm sorry, which number?
The 2.59, I feel like that's reasonable. You know, I mean, if someone else is gonna say I won't go below 2.7, I'm not saying I would never vote yes for that either, but I think that's a reasonable number, 2.59.
You're honest about it.
What's
I
your
love
number,
it.
Jeremy?
Well, I mean, I really wanted to talk about how much we think we should be paying down.
So how much do you?
Well, what's you say, 10% of 320,000? So that'd be what?
32,000.
32,000, so
So
that's the max you can,
the change.
Without doing an advertisement.
without, okay, got it.
So if we went to 3.35%, does that
Okay.
move it that 10%? But
Yes,
what does that?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that advertisement's 28 days, right?
No, I think it's only, hold on, I have that. Close it out.
I think you should try to get to a legal space that's like-
Then there's a publishing poll or a summary pursuant to the section.
They started at 4.5. That's where they started.
For some reason, I think it's at 3 days.
Well, that was an amendment before. That was an amendment before the public hearing.
No, that's an amendment before we adopt.
Right. It's just, yeah. Same thing. The 3 days, is, if it's done 3 days or
I
more,
don't,
it doesn't have to be.
let me make
advertised.
this really clear. The council president started out by saying, we're gonna get to this tonight, so we're not gonna like vote this down and reintroduce a brand new budget. We're gonna get to a number that the council president. We're gonna
But
get
you're
to.
saying we can't go below a certain number under the current introduction. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing, Bill?
You can't reduce it, well, you can, but there's more steps.
5-10-1 rule or something like that, right?
You have to go back and
Yeah.
amend.
The 5 and the 1 we're
Probably.
not dealing with, because we're not
Right,
increasing.
but
the
that's
budget.
the law we're
But
talking
the,
about.
yeah, the 10%, you can't change a line item by more
More
than
than
10%.
And now this is a genuine question. I mean, besides the fact that it takes longer, is there any other negative to doing that way?
No.
Okay.
So what's the 3 point, what was the number, Chairman? 3.3,
So,
what was your
I
number?
said 3.35.
3.35.
I think that was, yeah, well, that's a less of a cut than his 3.25, is that what you're?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So if
I think it came out to 29,000.
if we said instead of stuffing away 320,000, we stuff away 288,000. What does that tax rate look like? And I'm using the max that we can reduce that.
That's like a
I can't do that right.
3.3, that's like a 3.3 increase.
3.29.
Thank you. I am good with numbers. I am really, I am very good with numbers. I am.
So I got 3.29, I got 2 what?
2.59 is what we talked about. That would reduce by 66.
3.29.
Going to.
No, I know you're
Are you good to go, but are you, what are you saying?
3.29 got
Are
your,
you saying
got the council president down
Were
to,
you saying 3.29?
that's what he's, I thought it was.
I prefer.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So if you're worried about, like, what if you split it? Did 15 out of the capital improvement fund and then, 17 out of the paying off, so you're gonna pay off more debt, you're just not putting money aside for future, which we're not gonna be bonding probably anytime soon, so we don't need that capital improvement fund as much as paying off debt.
Yeah, plus, here's the thing, that less money that you're paying off the debt, the more that debt has to pay interest.
Right.
As well.
Right.
So
So
that would be
it's not
the,
32,000,
that would be
you're
the
talking
three,
about
so you're
56,000.
proposing just now of splitting it between capital fund and the debt. Was it, which rate now? 3 point,
Whichever one you do, whatever you decide on.
no, but you just,
I just
those
gave,
two numbers added out to $32,000. So
correct.
that's a 3.29,
3.29%.
okay, 3.29. See what you wanna be. You can get these two to go for it, and I don't know if you're ever gonna be unanimous, so.
So, they're voting on an amendment to the resolution, right?
So yeah.
So if they don't pass the amendment, they can still have a discussion and go for another amendment, right?
Correct, but I think don't you still have to vote on the original budget? Or, I thought that was my understanding, that you have.
I've never seen a budget bill, so I have no idea, I'm sorry.
That was.
And I think I told you 3 hours ago, I said that I never seen a budget fail either,
Right,
so.
so I have no,
Yeah,
no, there is no public comment.
Years ago.
What? I've never played a budget bill.
Do you have a comment on, like, if an amendment is voted on and is not
We're
passed,
talking about
they can
personal.
come back to discussion for another amendment? Do you have to vote on the budget, then vote on amendment?
I do not have it.
I can't remember.
I'd like to,
Because I just-
before I apply definitively, I'd like to know what the council tends to do. Second points.
So, okay, so here's where we are, here's where we are at 10 of 10 at night. I'm gonna poll the council to see whether or not they will support the 3.929% increase, which is an amendment to this budget, which takes 18,000 and 17 and 5, 15 off of some of the debt and whatever. And then we're gonna take a break once we know, well, if you're planning on doing that, we're gonna take a break so that our attorney can look up whether or not there needs to be a negative vote on the original, as, I don't think so though, because then it goes down.
Yeah.
No, logically, Chris, if we vote it down, it's done, we have to start all over again, they can't vote it down
Yeah,
So,
that's intuitively correct.
intuitively,
I
but
mean,
possibly not legally correct.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna, remember the old Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, that we preferred game shows, I'm
We're
probably.
gonna call Bill Sutherland.
No, I'm not, what's up, I'm gonna
Okay.
call Josh Thurgeon.
Okay, all right,
See if I can get
so
on the
I'm
phone.
gonna pull over.
I have never, I will always be honest with council, I have never been part of it. Bill Anderson,
I have never
appeared
been
in
part of
either,
it.
so.
Every single thing I've learned says that an amendment, amendment closer to 3 days. You can,
No,
without advertising for 3 days, but you have to
Not-
advertise.
Not budget law, not under budget, budgets are totally different, they're not considered.
No, I know, I just read the budget law. I'm just telling you what I just read.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do what I just said, we're gonna take a poll, we're gonna let our attorney look into
Yeah,
this.
I think that the important thing is to resolve what we want to do,
Yes,
and then we'll go and look at it.
okay, so this is the question I'm going to poll on, whether or not you are willing to vote for a 3.29% increase, which is about $20 less in taxes per household. $23 less. $17 less?
no, it was $18.97.
So it's very 19, 20, okay, so $20 less. And it will put something like 17,000, it'll pay down about 17,000 less in debt and 15,000 less in the capital fund. Otherwise, everything else stays the same. So I'm just gonna poll, Council Vice President, you first. Yes, you're willing to vote for it? Council President?
Yep, yes.
Yes.
Ms.
Can I
Engelhardt?
ask a quick question first? The $17 is it's based on the current
Assessed value.
assessed value.
Correct.
So it would be more than that, depends, because the value of the home.
Well, we have that assessed value in now, so that's.
It's taken into that,
Yes,
$17 is taken
Correct.
into that account.
correct.
At this point, no.
Okay.
But I need to, we're
Okay.
gonna take a break, right?
Yeah, we're gonna take a break. Ms. Rosetti?
I mean, while I appreciate that it's not 375, I would still say no at this point.
Okay, and Councilman Johnston, you're on mute.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have 4 in the affirmative, 1 possible, and 1 probably not. So we're gonna take a recess for at least 10 minutes until 10 o'clock. And
So we're gonna change the rate.
we're gonna change, talk to the man behind the curtain. Talk to Bill. Talk to our financial genius over there.
We should talk. Alright. Well, let's try to this, Bill.
These are I need to do this. Really need to do this. Really.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
I have to tell you, they're doing construction on drugs, they were right in front of my house. Oh my God, trying to have a conference call, you should hear it.
I make up for it, it's like.
You said.
You get that bungalow door.
Yeah, I know, they were telling me.
Oh my God.
I didn't say that. Like the tour. They're calling. By Monday. You know, jumped in, stepped on the beach.
Why did you do it? So I. Let's say $15,000 off this. No, it's $17.
Not now.
Not.
So if you have a. house that's like over value, you'll be getting less. Yeah.
No, I do. Yeah, next. But it doesn't really work.
Well, yeah, and it's like in Mercury.
It doesn't, get floods like. with-
You know, the side of the engineer.
Yes.
So those houses right across the street, it's those houses.
Well, I'm the water runs right there.
More reality.
Vanilla? I could order these.
Cost of living. is just like-
The
Issue.
What about-
That's $30. Additional taxes.
That's all you get, especially when you go to work.
But no one cares about that. She was doing the work.
I agree with you. I'm in favor.
Always an adventure, Tony. You were wrong when you said you'd be running.
Yes.
That, like a new problem, I've never had this one. We think we have it. It's not. The first day. So, got in the car, and it's like, how I'm back, right, so you're not back, but I got this habit, right, of getting dinner afterwards. So, it's all good, everyone can have, the problem is, driving to the store after. It's all been cool days so far, it's just that, I'm just really hot, really, I mean, didn't feel it when I started, I halfway through, around a turnaround. Is that the local one here? So that's all flat. Jersey City was. I've heard that some of the Hudson County races, you and your husband who was going.
No, me and my friend. And that every time it's like, he used to it. Not.
So. Bowman.
Oh, the one doesn't happen in Florida.
He did the full ones. We picked up the video for the, and we were the spot and they were doing this. And full, and that number. We do it again, right? He still hasn't started winning because it was such a bad. He starts physical, he's still doing physical therapy, so he's only starting at this week. 30. He's very thin, real thin, but it was tough. Well, wait a minute. So it was beautiful.
I managed.
I got there. Yeah, it was the New York Marathon. Mayor Bridgewater is like my best friend. She did the New York Marathon in quiet, right? 3 weeks prior to something like that, it was a sport, right? 3 weeks later, Gerard, my footprint, just said, it was 20 degrees that morning. Parents came down, he stayed, and I drove him down, came back, they were right at the house. And I came back the next morning, and met them, and they told them, when they're Philly. So I think it was
Yeah. Oh, that one. That's on Apple TV?
He was like, sad. He's fast. He's very fast. Slow. He's very thin. He's very thin.
It's usually 3.5 to 4 hours. Good. Yeah. Yeah. It's putting on a performance for the public. Everybody want to get the fuck out of there. Yeah.
Then you start. Yeah, really, that's why, I really should be curious. Have you run? Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. Have you run? 4 hours and 2 minutes. They took a picture of it, it's right there. That's coming off the. They were wrapping up. He's very frail. He's old, it's 5 to 10. But 3 weeks prior, I was tracking my friend, doing the New York Marathon, he was like, wait, I know, she was low as time, I thought to myself, but, and then I was like, so she didn't get it. Mark, right, climate change, you're right, too, like, that's a big swing in 3 weeks. I hard it takes a lot to get it hard. Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? But this is the real, the salad. Well, in the summer, I'll switch to a different schedule and I'll run like Sundays. I try to go, I'll start like 7:30. I can't do it. Because my job, I have two more of these too, right? In these towns. And you know. But my dad, for example, he doesn't run anymore, but like we ride. Yeah, it's early, right? You get to this five, that's right now for. Yeah, he's the latest. I've been pushing because he loves the run. He's so good at that. But he's only run. Well, he did. He did once, right? You know, so I ran once. It was one. We were visiting China in Virginia. And he's like, let's go. That's what this was down. Oh, it was Bristol. In right outside of Richmond, now he's really seeing like panhandle. He's like free. So when I first started dating Joy, we it's been my favorite person. I'll see if I can do this. So I said, all right, we can run at the same time. So, right. Well. I never run out of park. I've never run out of park. This is what the yeah, so I don't even, that's what you're saying. Him and the mayor, my friend. I guess I could have to. Before I started getting into art, I never did fight. That was my distance. But he worked on me for 2 years. Now how much? We knew each other for years before that, so. With the League of Municipalities, 2016. Wow. So, James Academy. And most of my friends, and probably some of yours have been, most of the third line nowadays, these match or whatnot, you know. This world, just never. Right, Jeremy, you can bring this one in for landing. Yeah. She will not. So you see some dad calls, I saw correctly, so one of those. If you're under.
Yes, yeah, that's what
I know, you are. Well. Oh, never. Okay, you said
you're okay, we're back in session, recess. I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. All right, so, the law has been reviewed, counselor,
Yes,
will you please opine on the law?
I give credit to Bill Hans too for workshopping this with me,
Mhm.
because, and Bill said he was gonna get the final numbers, I don't think it's, exact percentages are super important.
I've
Yeah.
read on the resolution.
All right, sweet.
So you can.
So because both numbers are below 10%, the statute is clear, you can proceed with an amendment if Jeremy wants to offer the amendment, one of the other his fellows want to second it, I'm comfortable proceeding, I think Bill is too.
Okay, so just to repeat, because both the numbers that are being reduced are under 10%. It
Yeah,
can be
I
done.
didn't even have to phone a friend, Bill's analysis was dead on. so,
Okay, it could be done immediately and,
Without further need
and
for,
with, the council president's support, the CFO created a resolution. Are you gonna offer the resolution in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
motion
Okay,
bring to the floor an amendment for the 2023 budget.
so Jerry, I think you should also read the changes.
he has to read the whole thing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, this one is only.
No, no, he has to read- no, he
Yes,
has to read it in full, which is the motion, and then
Yeah.
somebody seconds it.
Yep, that's fine, obviously.
Resolution to amend the 2023 budget, whereas the municipal budget for the year 2023 was approved on the 10th day of April 2023. And whereas a public hearing on said budget has been held as advertised, and whereas it is desired to amend said approved budget now, therefore be it resolved by the Borough Council of Flemington, the Borough Council of the Borough of Flemington, County of Hunterdon, that the following amendments to the approved budget of 2023 be made. Current fund budget, budget general, appropriations. Capital improvement fund from 155,000 to 140,000, change of 15,000. Percentage change of 9.68%. Deferred charges payoff capital ordinance from $320,970.50 to $303,977.50. This change of 17,000 with a percentage change of 5.30%. Budget general revenues, amount to be raised by taxes for support of municipal budget. A, local tax for municipal purposes, including reserve for uncollected taxes from 5,000. $5,541,041. Oh my goodness, sorry.
You're an English teacher, none of that's.
Exactly. This is 5 million, right? 5,541,000.
Yep.
$305.12. There we go.
I help you, I can't read anything. that's
To
long.
$5,509,305.12, change of 32,000. Percentage change, 0.58%. Be it further resolved that two certified copies of the resolution be filed forthwith in the office of the Director of Local Government Services for certification of local municipal budget so amended. It is hereby certified that this is a true copy of a resolution amending the budget adopted by the governing body on the 8th day of May 2023, certified by me Monday, May 8th, and signed for the municipal budget.
Is there a second?
Tilly, second.
Is there any discussion on the resolution?
I'm sorry we couldn't reach a full consensus.
Can we just get a copy of that?
Oh, yeah, we can get a copy.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, first thing in the morning, will you come in to sign it?
Yes. I can put it in. Yeah, I have a DPW meeting at 10.
I'll email it to you.
Okay, there's no discussion. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt,
No.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
No.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Budget is approved and adopted.
Amendments.
What's the budget?
As amended.
As the budget is
As
amended.
amended,
Okay,
amended, thank
yes, it is done. Bill, thank you so much for your patience and tonight and all the hard work you did on this and really truly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Thank you for meeting with us.
And thank you, Council President, for the robust conversation tonight.
Well, thank Bill and thank you to my fellow council members.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate it.
trying. I appreciate all your work.
Nice.
Okay, moving on through the regular agenda, resolution 2023-107, approving the memorandum of understanding with the Hunterdon County Vocational School District for a heavy equipment training program. This is just continuing the VOTEC program that they have with our DPW, where they learn to move big piles of mulch and become future municipal DPW workers, which is an excellent
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Tilly will move.
That's fantastic.
Is there a second?
Engelhardt, second.
Any discussion, Mr. Parker?
No,
It's a wonderful program.
I think it's great.
It is great because we have a deficit of public employees, especially in public works. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-108, refunding pet license fee for the amount of $19. Can I have a motion, please?
Tilly will move.
Is there a second?
Engelhardt, second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-109, appointing Bianca Watkins as interim municipal court administrator. That's through what date? June first.
Technically, it goes back to the beginning of the month,
Yeah.
May
okay.
1st.
So-
And it needs to, after we vote on it, it is, caveat is we have to wait for the judge to say, okay, and then
Yes.
it's good.
Yes, very good. Can I have a motion, please?
Tilly will move.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
I think I'm sorry, I don't think he should be voting on this. It's a court matter.
yeah.
Can you abstain, Mr. Johnston, please?
Yes.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay,
Can we just verify the dates? Because I thought you said it retroactive to May 1, but this is from May 10.
Yeah.
To May 31.
forgive me, I'm sorry, I had to change it, so it is May 10th, because
Okay.
that's the date that the judge is most likely going to. give
Perfect.
approval.
Okay, resolution 2023-110, approving the appointment and hiring of Carla Connor as of June 11, 2023 as our new clerk.
And Connor is with an E, CONNE, just so you know.
Okay,
Tilly will move.
is there a second?
Long second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2023-111, I just want to make sure that it's other duties as required as part of her contract or part of this resolution, because she's coming in as our technical assistant to the construction official, which is currently a part-time job. We are making it a full-time job, so she will be assuming other duties as well, but that is not reflected in the resolution.
The first line of the resolution includes additional duties.
I did say that, did I miss that?
Well, I'll bring it up, you want me to just,
Fair.
we can make sure, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it says will also support administrative needs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine then, that's fine.
Neither
Okay,
one.
can I have a motion to approving the appointment and hiring of Maureen McIver as of June 27, 2023?
I'll move.
Johnson will move.
Johnson seconded, thank you. Can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
I'm gonna abstain. Only because I am friends with Maureen. So I don't ever want to.
You have
conflict.
Oh.
We have no work session. We're gonna go on to the next public comment period. Again, because of the hour, I'm gonna hold it to the 3 minutes per person. Anybody from the public have any comments? We still have a long executive session.
Just real quick. So I am really excited about Carla Connor. I would like, that's awesome. Like, congratulations. I think she works out really well.
You know,
No, I don't. I'm just really happy that we've got somebody coming in and, you know, I know it's a little bit of a thankless job. So you know, we know that change was coming, so.
We're excited to.
Yeah, and this isn't meant as a, since, you know, not, you guys not being sensitive, but I do think it's important to publicly recognize that 65% of our community are renters. And while we talk about, that, you know, $40 or $20 or however much we're talking about in terms of reducing the tax burden on taxpayers. For renters in particular, it is something that is compounded because like their landlords, those property owners get a much bigger, you know, they're not the average property owner. They're inheriting a much bigger bill, and they pass that down in a way that is not usually has some extra dollars in there as well. So I think that's important. It's easy to walk through town and see all of the beautiful houses that we've got, but our tax base and the folks that really keep Main Street alive, collectively, they have a huge amount of buying power. And if we're chipping away at those little bits, it does have impact. So that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none. Payments on the bills. Pay the amount of bills.
Somebody online.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Betsy Driver. I live at 50 North Main Street, Flemington, New Jersey. I'm the former mayor. I just want to point out, Marcia, when you stated during that budget discussion that you are retired on a fixed income, rather disingenuous knowing that you are on a fixed income of $6,000 a month of state taxpayer dollars. That's a state pension that you get. $6,000 a month is higher than many residents of this borough make working a 40-hour-a-week job. Now, I think you might also be collecting Social Security, which probably adds another $2,000 a month. Hey, stop. Don't interrupt me, Marcia. I am speaking. I am speaking right now, and you can speak when I am done. It is disingenuous for you to claim that you are on a fixed income when you are collecting $6,000 a month in state tax dollars as a pension, and that you probably have your state health care paid for and other benefits as a former state employee who was employed on state governor appointed positions, politically appointed positions. So keep that in mind as you claim that you're retired. Thank you. And Jeremy and Tony, shame on you for voting yes. Have a great evening.
Okay, I'm gonna respond.
After
I just
you.
have to respond.
After you.
So I don't need anyone's approval to vote. So, excuse me, you said what you have to say, I'm gonna say what I have to say, you're done. So the point of it is, I voted based upon information that we had. If we're gonna go back and you wanna start pointing fingers, there's a lot of information you didn't bring forward. So let's just go there. I don't wanna go through all of this. And the other thing is, I don't begrudge anyone for making choices about their career. I don't begrudge anyone for doing that. So I don't even know where we're going with that. I just think that's, you know what? I do not want, I'm gonna say the same thing to you, Betsy, that I said to Marcia when I am not going to listen to this nonsense and this back and forth. This does not make a lot of sense. We are better than this and we're gonna rise above that. So if that's what you wanna do, I'm gonna do the same thing I said to other people. I'm just gonna start reading my emails because I have a lot to do. I'm not gonna listen to this nonsense.
Huh?
We have another online.
I just wanted to say also, thank you for saying that about making choices. I have 2 master's degrees, including an MBA, and chose to do public service my entire life. With my government appointed job, they required higher education, Betsy, and like your governor appointed job, which they apparently not. So people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones since you currently have an appointment with the governor as in the DMV. So I shouldn't go there. You're right, Councilman. Who else is online? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, unmute Todd.
Thanks. Can you hear me, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it was nice to finally see you debate this in public. So thank you for that. But as a matter of decorum, during the break, the cameras were left on. Again, thank you for that transparency. And Councilman Malik said, you are all putting on a show. Get the F out of here. So I'd like to ask Councilman Malik, were you telling the public to get the F out of here or the council? And why on earth would a council allow that type of decorum on our council meeting? It is unacceptable.
You don't have to answer that, Councilman. This is a comment period. The council president and I were not in this room at the time.
I was here. I
Well,
didn't-
then maybe, Marcia, you should think about when you
Well,
leave the
Councilwoman, the
room,
council
how it's
vice
being
president
run.
just said that she never heard it.
Susan,
Did
people
you hear-
online did.
People online did?
We didn't hear it. We didn't hear. Michael, did you hear?
No.
Well, the meeting was recorded, so please rewind it back, because guys, you are our council. Please, you need to maintain a decorum in order to maintain government.
Agreed.
Period. End of story. Unacceptable. And I expect an answer at the next council meeting as to what type of censure Councilman Malik will get for making that comment, or at least find out who the F should leave, the public or the council. That's all. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Can I address that? I was speaking to somebody else in the room with me about a TV show. That's all.
Well, then maybe Councilman Malik, you should understand how to use your equipment that was given to you by the borough. Please mute yourself when you're going to use obscenities for members of the public. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, public comments, and I apologize. I don't see the names up here and hands raised, so I apologize for not seeing that. And calling on you and relying on you, business administrator. All right, next on the agenda is payment of the bills. Pay the bills in the amount of $843,846.70, and that's how you say that.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Engelhardt will second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Engelhardt,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Rosetti,
Yes.
Ms. Tilly.
Yes.
At this time, we have executive session, resolution 2023-112, executive session to discuss potential redevelopment negotiations with Captiva and public safety issues concerning the municipal court. This moment, yes, can I have a motion?
Tilly will move.
Is there a second?
Engelhardt will second.
At this moment, I'll ask the members of the public to leave. Call, I apologize, that will be answers and phone calls and, I'm sorry.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you, I'm sorry, things got away from you last
We
week.
all-
No, it's okay.
I feel bad.
It's her.
No more to go. I know I owe you what? Oh, can we have all in favor of going into acceptance of?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Have a good night.
We'll do the second with that paper first and then report second.
You guys want. I agree that, well, I'm asking the mayor, that's fine. Whatever you want. Perfectly fine.
No, not at all.
But if there's a different.
Well, usually I'll be hitting that up, but I actually. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, that concludes the meeting. We have a motion to adjourn.
Tilly will move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Everybody drive safely. Thank you, Liz.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
We are done.
Okay.
And you met.
Thanks again, everybody.
You got one more meeting, Michael?